Stick to the right. And the Huskies will win.
This is a Pac-12 Championship Week edition of Dirt and Sprague.
Brought to you by Mods PDX. The future of building is here. Online at modspdx.com.
Dirt and Sprague on 1080.
Hey, we're not done yet.
The Fan.
All right, 6:02 in the Rose City. Time for Dirt and Sprague on Portland's sports leader, 1080 The Fan. Happy Tuesday, everybody.
What is happening?
It had to be the worst game of all time on primetime TV, right?
I gave up. I had to throw the towel in.
I did too.
I can't do it. I saw it. Somebody tweeted. Somebody from the Ringer or something had a tweet saying you're gonna miss this game in March. You're gonna be praying for this game in March.
Oh, one of those like football's over.
Yes.
We want football in our
and
lives.
I thought, no, I'm not.
I won't
March
think about that.
Madness. There's other things going on. I don't need that game in my life.
Not at all. No.
I can survive without horrible football between two really bad football teams.
I want you to imagine you get a phone call and it's somebody calling, say, hey, I spent $280 on those football tickets. I'd like my money back, please. What do the Minnesota Vikings do?
I mean, you should give them a refund. Josh Dobbs threw 4 interceptions, man. You lost to the Bears at home. How many touchdowns was I gave up in the third quarter? How
Only
many
one tud.
One tutty was scored?
One tud, because the Bears had I don't think it was a walk-off, but they won with a field goal in the
they
last
kick-
seconds.
Field goal late. First time.
They kicked 4 field goals.
This season.
Yeah.
God.
So there have been 29 times a team has not scored a touchdown in a game this season. First time a team has won.
Wow. 29 times no tuds, and the first team to win is the Bears.
That is absolutely embarrassing. I was sitting at home. I took the dog for a walk in the first half, and so I missed a chunk of like the end of the first quarter, second quarter period. Wife gets home from work. It's like halftime. We're hanging out. Third quarter starts. I got like 6 minutes into the third quarter, and I just thought, I don't need this. I don't need to watch this. This game has no impact on my life. These teams aren't going to the at least God forbid.
Minnesota might.
Please, for the love of
might.
God, don't let either of these teams in the playoffs. Like, this is the most irrelevant football game that I can think of on a nationally televised schedule, and I'm not watching any more of this. And I went and laid in bed, and I watched coach press conferences. I watched Lanning. I watched DeBoer. I watched Jonathan Smith's interviews. It's like, this is more relevant to the show. I'm not wasting any more time on this crap.
I flipped over to watch Utah at St. Mary's. And Bill Riley, apparently the internet not working at the scoreboard there at St. Mary's, because I swear I saw Bill Riley with the butt end of his cell phone sticking it in front of his basketball.
I'll shoot him a text today and say, Bill, we may have seen you calling your game on your phone. Did this happen?
Yes.
Via cell phone, play-by-play.
Yeah, because he had it. He was holding it kind of in his palm turned up, and he turned the butt end to his color guy and then stuck it around to him as the camera pans as they're going from one end of the floor to the other.
That's ingenuity right there. You got to be creative, man.
Yeah, for sure.
You got to adapt or die.
Yeah, I turned that game off way before that game was over. I was done. I was good.
We have an epidemic, I feel like, of bad primetime games this year.
All the unders are hitting in primetime. Swag, unfortunately, was on the wrong side of it yesterday, as were probably some backers, because I like that pick. But the under is something like 24 or 25 and 7 or something.
Right,
it's insane.
It's insane.
I mean, so this week, your primetime schedule.
There's no way the under hits in Seahawks Cowboys, right?
Absolutely. Seahawks getting shut down by that defense, that absolutely can happen.
Their offense sucks.
Their offense sucks, but Geno's likely to give it to the Cow. Like, when the Cowboys get turnovers, they turn them into touchdowns.
This is true, but didn't they only score? They scored 26 on the Commies, right? In Seattle a couple weeks ago, or was it 29? With the walk-off field goal for them.
They 29-26.
I mean,
they scored 16 in a loss to the Rams, and they scored 13 in a loss to the 49ers.
Well, the Niner game was...
That's not good offense right there. So that's your Thursday night game is Seahawks and Cowboys. At least I'm mildly intrigued by that, but I wouldn't be shocked at all if that turns into a bloodbath.
Betting the under on that one.
Dude, Dallas just dominates bad teams at home, and I don't think Seattle's a very good team. Your Sunday night game this week is Packers hosting the Chiefs.
Yeah, Packers defense isn't awful.
What's the weather going to be in Lambeau?
So it's 35 and clear right now. So that's your Sunday night game.
So we won't have.
And that Kansas City defense.
Yeah, that's
Is Jordan Love going to wheel and deal the way he has been last 2 weeks?
Are we parlaying the under in these games? And then your Monday night game.
Aaron Jones is still dinged up.
Yes, he is. Your Monday night game is the Joe Burrow-less Bengals.
Oh, yeah.
With
that's
Jake
right.
Browning on the road against Jacksonville. The over-under in that game's 38.5.
It was
Ooh, that's-
16-10 against Pittsburgh in Cincinnati.
That's got underwritten all.
I think we
over
might
it.
have to parlay the primetime games this week. I think we might be onto a show parlay here.
I'm just saying, it's the thing that's hitting the most right now is the unders.
I wish I would have had this
Yeah, the most
information before I
nervous-
locked in my overbet
Yeah,
for
the
last
most
night.
nervous is the Cowboy game because the Cowboy defense has the potential to score defensive or special teams touchdowns and blow it out.
I laid.
That's the scary one.
I talk often about my small unit. I laid a very uncomfortable amount of money for myself just on
Today I'm laying the big wood.
did on Baltimore -3. Zay Flowers going into the end zone.
Which is not the right play, but I love him for it.
Well, it was to me. I almost cried in my
Daughter saw
living
the
room.
cover dance.
My wife did. She was like, "What happened?" I'm like, "We're cashing a ticket. Is what happened."
We're going to Sizzler.
And when you make a big bet on one game and you win it, yeah, you kind of become snobby gambling guy. I didn't touch yesterday's game. I liked the over. I didn't touch that game.
I don't need it. It's beneath me.
Well, my producer for my gambling show will randomly text me all the time, me and my co-host. And yesterday, unsolicited, he sends this text. I want to read this. This was 6:30 at night. This is 9:30 where he lives. He's in New York. He goes, "I'm looking at lines for next week, and I'm seeing the Chargers 6-point favorite in Foxborough." Same feeling I had as the Bills game. I'm laying the wood on the Patriots. I said, "You are a sick, sick man for touching that game."
You need some help there, buddy. You need some help.
He goes, "But it's Belichick against Staley." And I go, "Belichick has 2 wins this year." He goes, "Don't bet against Bill."
Yeah, I'm going to bet against Bill. I mean, not in that
I'm
game.
not touching that
I'm not
game.
touching that game, but
touching that game.
I have no problem betting against Bill Belichick
Get
this
outta
year.
here
That's
with
no
that.
longer a thing. They're 2-9. Is there how many teams in the NFL still have one win? How
How
many
many 2-10?
are they 2-10 now after the loss this weekend?
I'm trying to remember what week it is.
I don't know. So
Oh,
Carolina,
So
I think
the Panthers
that
have
came in
one
hot.
win. Bye-bye, Frank Reich.
Yeah, they are the only one-win team. So they have the second worst record in the NFL, tied
out
with
the
the
Bears.
Arizona Cardinals.
Bears got that pick.
The Bears are now 4-8 on the year. The Bears have doubled up the Patriots' win total this season.
Yeah, they're going
think
after
about
some
that for a
wins.
second.
They're confident Panthers are going to give them that number
Yeah.
one pick,
They're
baby.
the other one will turn into a top 5 pick. They're living life.
They're
They don't have to
trading the other
tank.
one. They're
This is
getting some
great.
dudes.
Dude, you get 2 of the top 4 picks in the draft.
Do you guys ever feel like math lies to you when you hear things out loud?
Yes.
Like, I'll give you 2 examples where I think in football, math is lying to you. Because when you say it, it sounds so good. Like you get to say, "Oh, this happened." And your immediate reaction should be, "Well, holy hell, look at that." I give you the Colorado Buffaloes. Hey, man, he got 4 times the amount of wins in year 1. You'd be like, "Wow, 4 times the amount?"
Sure.
And then you find out what that number is. You just said it out loud. The Bears have double the wins. I just kind of think, "Oh, man, what's that number?" And you drop a 4. I'm like, "No, okay."
4-8, baby. 4-8.
That's where math lies out loud. You're just like, I know it's mathematically true. It just sounds so much better than it really is.
I believe the Chicago Bears are still technically alive for an NFC wildcard playoff spot.
The bottom of the AFC and NFC playoffs
It's awful.
is atrocious. The Niners, the Cowboys, the Eagles. I don't know who the 2 seed's going to be,
You're 7.
but they're going to get
Well,
a
the
cakewalk in the
spot to
playoff.
get, and I think where the Cowboys are after, is that number 1 wild card slot because the NFC South champion could have a losing record.
Oh, yeah, you want to play the NFC South.
Yeah.
So the number 1 wild card
That's
slot.
not going to happen for the Cowboys. They already have a head-to-head loss to the 49ers, and the 49ers are going to beat the Philadelphia Eagles this weekend. Wow. So good luck
Yeah.
with that.
No. The 49ers will win the division. So the number 1 wild card
Oh,
slot
touche.
plays
Touche.
the
I see what you're
worst
saying. I was
division
thinking the
winner.
2 seed.
Yeah.
Touche.
Yeah.
Yeah. So right now, yeah, they would be the 5 seed, and they have. I mean, that is locked up. There's no chance anybody else catches them there.
I'm all over the Jets +3 because the Falcons are in New York.
Oh, we're doing some early look lines. I love it. Dude.
I mean, look, the Jets played about as bad as you can on Friday.
They did.
And I know Tim Boyle sucks, but I've watched Atlanta too, and they're not anything to write home about.
How happy dance was it when Javon Holland had a 100-yard pick six to end the first half? What was that game, 10-6? Because I was down on the road. I didn't see hardly any of it.
Full disclosure, I'll tell you what happened. Friday, I'm watching this game. Nebraska, Iowa had just ended. I'm like, oh my God, the under still hit. How did that happen?
13-10. Those poor bastards.
Punts. I'm getting a punt and sweatshirt. It's my new team.
Those poor bastards.
And that game ends. I flip over to Prime. I'm watching this game. I'm like, I was feeling weirdly confident. I don't know why. And Miami's up 10. I'm like, okay, great. And I'm watching the end of the first half. Tua throws a pick. And I'm like, and it's returned back. They missed the extra point. And I'm like, great. Dominated the first half. Only up 4.
10-6.
Grabbed my dog, pissed off, walked him, smoked a little weed. Came back. My dad was like, man, my Jets terrible. I go, they're only down 4. Shut up. I got the Dolphins -9. He goes, what? And I turn on the thing. I missed the pick 6.
You missed it live.
So when I saw Holland go into the end zone, go! I was like Kramer at the horse track. Go! Yeah!
That does not happen as often as you would think. Like, I don't know if I've ever seen that before. An end of the game, end of half Hail Mary return. Like, we've seen the kicks that come up short.
The kick sixes.
And the guys in the back of the end
we
zone.
have that.
The
We've
Hail
seen
Mary
picks,
return doesn't have, like,
because we saw the one from the Steelers in the Super Bowl, but they were down close to the end zone.
sure, that was like a
against Cardinals.
slant and somebody jumped in the way and everybody's down on the 2-yard line. It makes a little more sense. This one, like, I'm just surprised we don't see plays like that more often.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
Because I don't even know if I've ever honestly seen that before.
I still don't know how he did it. Football players have this weird ability where when the fast ones are going, they can just hit an angle and it doesn't matter. But, like, I'm also like, you see which way he's running. Like, there was nobody. I think it took Wilson to track him down at the very end, but he got into the end zone. He got him too late. Which, by the way, I think Garrett Wilson on that play, I believe he ran 174 yards.
That sounds about right, because he had to go all the way to do the Hail Mary
end zone
route.
to end zone in total running distance. He ran 174 yards.
Dude, brutal. And then you get those offensive linemen. There's nothing funnier than watching an offensive lineman try and take an angle on a guy who is way faster than them. And you just realize, like, immediately you're like, oh, God, I'm not catching this guy. And then they do, like, the fall and flail and try and trip him up. It's like, nope, he's already gone.
There was one, it was either this year or last year. I think I texted you guys, and I can't remember what game it was, but there was a lineman that had no chance, and he knew it, and everybody in the building knew it. No chance of tracking down the pick 6, and he's seen, like, I mean, Dirt, he might have been 10 to 13 feet behind the guy, and he just, like, dives up. He, like, jumps up in the air like he's diving forward, just falls down, and I have a theory that he did it in that moment for the playback.
Yes.
Coach, look, I gave my effort.
I'm out there working.
And he knew he wasn't getting it. He's like, hey, what if this looks better? So he jumps up and dives, and it was terrible.
Everybody who played high school sports learned how to make the exercise and conditioning look harder than it actually was.
Oh, yeah.
Like the struggle run of, like, dude, I'm grinding out here. I'm working my tail off.
Yeah.
It's like, no, you're not. No, you're not.
It's like the
Pick up the pace.
It's like a Tyreek Hill player, like, type, whoever that was in your high school. They would get up after they had, like, a long, fast run. They do kind of like a limp back. And you're like, oh, no, he's hurt. No, he's not. He's just trying to make it look like he's tough. Like,
exactly.
Oh, I got through that.
I'm working hard, baby. We're working hard out here. It's what we do every day.
It is. We've got a good show today. Colin Wilson's going to join us from the Action Network at 7:30 for the Daily Ticker. I'm curious if he's laying the big wood on Oregon minus the 9.5 as they get ready for the Huskies on Friday. Got a little Jonathan Smith audio. He did an interview on the Big Ten Network. Swag is rolling his eyes. So we'll play that for you.
He's Big Smith now.
What?
That's what they call him. Big Smith, B-I-G.
Is that what they're really calling him, Michigan State?
I just made that up.
Did you see his weird stadium video?
I did, where he walked out onto the field in the snow.
And they called him King of the North.
There is nothing that I enjoy more, and every fan base is guilty of this.
Is he suffering a midlife crisis? Have we actually examined that part of this? Because
I feel
it's
like-
got real, I just bought a convertible vibes.
I feel like he's dyeing his hair. Conspiracy theory.
Oh, I don't think that's a conspiracy.
I feel like he's dyeing his hair.
Dude, he's 45, 46.
It's jet black.
And it's jet black.
Like, come on. Nobody's hair's that black.
Right.
Tim Taylor, we're looking at you.
Well, Tim Taylor doesn't do that anymore. Tim Taylor's a silver fox. He might be a gray fox at this point, but he looks
Just
good.
Jet black. It stands out like a sore thumb. Like you're not that young.
It's the Ryan Day thing. It's what makes me root for Michigan and cheating Harbaugh is I can't stand it. What's the problem with having
I
some
know.
gray?
or balding a little bit. Just
There's-
age naturally.
Well, whatever you have, just lean into it. Like it's
Be
not
yourself.
perfect. Yeah, be yourself.
There's nothing that I enjoy more though than it happens at every school. The honeymoon period of hiring a new coach is just. I love it.
I know.
Everybody,
We've
this
got
is
the
the
guy.
guy
Yeah.
that we got our
Yeah.
guy. He's going to lead us to the promised land.
Wait till Trent Bray's introduced. We've
Dude,
got the guy.
You fast forward 6 games into the season, and Michigan State's 2-4, and people are, what's going on in here?
I don't know if he got that offensive line coach either. I don't know if Mahalichek is gone yet.
Loses 52-17 at Autzen Stadium. What the hell, man?
That would be massive if Oregon State were able to hold him. And if Aiden Childs and Damian come back, I think I made the. I've made the.
I'm gonna be curious how much orange and black sneaks into Autzen on that Saturday,
Ooh.
October 5th.
I've made the decision.
to witness.
If Aiden and Damian come back, I'm in next year.
Your fandom is back?
Well, I always have a
I know,
heart
I
for
know.
Oregon State. Yeah, but you know what I mean.
The passion, football
Yes.
season.
Yes.
Yeah, good for you.
Because I heard some scheduling stuff on a Spaces last night.
Ooh.
Are we going to Notre Dame?
That'd be fun. Go to South Bend.
We might be.
I'd be down for that trip.
we
I've
might
always
have
wanted
to
to go
make
to a
that
game
trip.
at South Bend.
You're going to go?
I mean, I'd love to go to South
Let's
Bend.
Oregon State, Notre Dame, Durden
Let's
Sprague
just
on the
go.
road.
I'm just gonna put the Rudy soundtrack in my headphones as I land. I might have to root against your team in that game. I'll root for you in all the other games. I might root against you in that one.
That's fair. I rooted for Nebraska when we went to the Oregon-Nebraska game.
Yeah, each their own.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
We all have our different interests.
All right, well, let's get it going. Dirt and Sprague. We start. We got the Dirty Poll at 6:30 today as well. An update on the Dirty Poll. How does the top 10 shake out? Dirt and Sprague Loaded Show on 1080 The Fan.
The Herd with Colin Cowherd.
Dirty poll here, the top 10 of college football. Poll questions up. Is Jonathan Smith going through a midlife crisis, yes or no, at Dirt and Sprague? I want to share a very heartbreaking story quickly. What I love about people who hang out with us, listen to the show, catch up on the show, on the podcast, what have you, is just taking us for who we are. And we know that we're not perfect in any stretch, so I know we just talked a little gambling. I want to bring a heartbreaking gambling story to you guys.
Uh-oh.
I don't know if you saw this. It was one of our coworkers at Odyssey. His name is Danny Parkins. He hosts an afternoon show in Chicago on 670 The Score, the drive time show. And him and a bunch of friends entered into the Circa Survivor Pool NFL that nets you $9 million if you win.
Woo!
Now, it's $1,000 entry fee. So I want you to bear that in mind because I'm kicking around the idea of getting us plus some others, $50 to $100 each. Let's go all in. Let's pick a game.
You get 10 guys with $100 each. That could be controversial, though.
Well,
is it a vote count on how you pick the team? How does that work?
So here's the thing. He made news this week because he was down to 149 people.
Ooh.
He was left. He was in the 149 are left to win the $9 million Survivor Pool. He was one of them.
Oh, no. Who did he take? Who had the most heartbreaking loss this weekend?
They went through all of the teams that they could possibly pick because once you pick a team, you're out.
Yeah.
Like, you can't go back. It's not the rules that you run by.
You get to pick a team once, and that's it, all season long.
So what they were down to was Indianapolis, Pittsburgh, and New England.
Yeah.
And he was trying like hell on this group chat to take the Steelers.
Yes, that would have been. Hold on, who did the Colts play? The Bucs.
Tampa.
Okay, that's.
Yeah, it was Tampa.
They were
I'm
up
not
10
touching
most of that game, though.
I'm not touching New England. I would, because they're on the road. That would be a balance between Pittsburgh going against a backup quarterback or Indy at home.
So here's the problem. The group said Pittsburgh can't be trusted on the road, bro. The group said, I don't know, man. Mike Evans against the Colts, I could see it. And the group concluded, New England against DeVito? Let's do it. And his group picked New England. Guess who got eliminated from the $9 million
Might need some therapy.
contest.
This is the problem.
He said,
is the issue.
I voted. I kept saying and trying to sway guys, and nobody wanted the Steelers.
Now, were there other people in, like...
It sounds like this is a 12 to 15 person group. The
Too
way
many
he
cooks
was
in the
classifying it.
But is it all like sports media people,
No.
or is it all his buddies?
buddies?
See, then I feel like as
Buddies.
a sports media person, I should get the
Yes.
overriding vote.
Really?
I do feel like I should be the authority on this.
That is that is a very controversial
I know more
take.
than NFL coaches do about football, and I want to have the last say in the Survivor Pool. I don't need Joe Schmo, who works in accounting down there, telling me that the New England Patriots are going to win this weekend. It's not going to happen.
Do you? Okay, so you are who actually I thought of. I know, Swag, you got fraternity brothers here.
Yeah.
I thought of Dirt because I've met like all 9 rounds of friends of Dirt. Dirt has just like, here's my group of friends, and then, oh, here's another group of friends. I'm like, what? How many waves are going to hit me here? Dirt's got a lot of friends. And I've also seen Dirt in his environment with his friends, heard him arguing with his friends about sports. I don't know if you get that cachet in your friend group.
I'm putting my foot down. I get the final say on this pick. I don't know if the idea of winning $9 million is awesome, and I'm all in on that. But if you have it, 10 is probably the minimum you could do this with. Because how many people are you going to find?
What if you have 5 and 5 splits?
Yeah, but then well, that's the tough part, right? But I think I'm saying 10 going in is the probably minimum because you're not getting people that are going to want to put in $400, right? Like that's a little.
Well,
out
you
of
don't want to do
if
it
you
either.
got 5 each with $200, yeah.
I think the most
Now
I'd
you-
want to spend is $100. I
That's
know
a-
it's $9 million.
To survive against this many people in a survivor pool. I mean, that's essentially flushing $200 down the toilet.
You're essentially
Your
flushing
odds
any of it down.
Winning are very low.
Very
so I
slim.
would almost want to go with more people to have a lesser buy-in.
But say you
But
got
then's
to
the
this
issue.
point, 149 people left. Your group is one of those 149.
yeah.
Like, in what world? And he said the reasoning was Belichick against DeVito. And I just was like, are those people not watching what the Patriots are? We're really playing the Super Bowl Patriots in our brain?
Yes, that's exactly what we're doing.
And he's still doing it. I just told you my gambling producer's like, I love the Patriots. And maybe they're right. Maybe he's right this weekend. I just think that team's tanking. He froze his own kicker this weekend. I don't know if anybody saw this. So they had a chance to win this game. And they were lined up for the kick. By the way, a scout had notes that got leaked on Twitter about the kicker. All it said was wide left in caps. This kid only goes left. That's what the notes said. So they line up for the kick. New England to beat the Giants. Timeout Patriots. What? Froze his own kicker. Guess what? Goes out there, completely shanks the kick. And I'm like, oh, Bill, you sly dog. You're going for Caleb.
He needs a quarterback.
He needs a quarterback.
He can't win without a quarterback.
No, he cannot.
He's not even telling Mac Jones during the week if he's going to start and when he's going to play. I don't think they even communicate. Mac Jones was asked, how often do you talk to the head coach this week? And he's like, we see each other every now and then. They don't have any communication, dude. This guy has totally moved on. He's either getting traded in the offseason to Washington or he's drafting a quarterback.
Wait, why Washington?
There's all those rumors out there that the Commanders want to make a splash. The new ownership needs a big play on the sidelines, and you trade a second. I don't know what it would.
I don't want an 80-year-old man. Yeah. I'm on the offense.
Like I get
He's never been on the offense.
I get the theory on Danny DeVito. Like you can point that out. It's Danny DeVito quarterbacking an NFL game. Hey, touchdown, dude. His family.
Why did you guys both do that with your fingers?
Because that's
what he does.
How do you not? There's a clip of him doing. There's a still shot of him at some point in the game arguing to the sideline, doing the Italian finger thing, and it's just perfect. His family looks like the Sopranos, by the way.
From New Jersey.
He lives with his mom.
His last name is DeVito.
I know.
Come on.
He
Drives
lives like
to the stadium.
10 miles from the stadium.
Meatloaf! That's him in his basement after beating the Patriots this weekend. But they at least, say what you want about DeVito, they at least were coming in off of a win to that game. And I know that because I had them in a big parlay. I took the Commanders' money line. They were like a 10-point favorite against the Giants. And I thought the Commanders are at home. There's no way they're going to lose this game. Commanders' money line. They're playing Danny DeVito. I literally did this a week ago. Danny DeVito is the quarterback of the Giants. He's not going on the road and winning an NFL game, and he won an NFL game. They literally just won last weekend.
Look, you're having a great year. I do think it's fair to say out loud, why did you have such confidence in the Commanders?
I don't know.
Of all the teams, you were like, no, the Commanders can't lose.
And it's just stupid, too, because it's just an additional pick to spice up your odds.
I know.
And like a big parlay, and you're like, whatever, just money line. They're favored by 9.
Right.
I don't know if they're going to cover. They're going to win, though. Just give me money line.
So you think if you got you have guys in your brain right now, I know you're mentally seeing. I know a couple of them. I see them too. You think ultimately if there comes to a standstill on a pick, you get the final say of the entire group?
I think so.
Even though you've spent not more money, but because you've got this dumb job?
Yeah, that's how it works, right? That's how it works. I would have been.
That's a ballsy thing to say. Are
you willing to accept that level of responsibility?
Yeah.
I will accept that responsibility.
Okay.
What happens if they lose? What does that mean? Do you accept it? What? A couple texts? You idiot. All right, it's done.
You blow a chance at $9 million if you get
That's
close.
a lot of money.
That could cost you a friendship or two.
I will just say this. I don't know about final
friendship if $100 costs you
ruins
friendship.
it. I don't know if I should have the final say. I will say though, if I was in that group, you would have had to drag me out of the house kicking and screaming over taking the New England Patriots. Like there is no world
Me either.
in which the Steelers defense against Jake Browning and the Colts who were at home against a bad Bucs team were not better picks than New England on the road.
Yeah.
On the road. No chance. That is the third pick you take there.
The hottest take was he shared the video on his Twitter account. He was driving on a freeway in Chicago, and there's snow everywhere. And I'm like, I don't think you should be doing this video right now.
Yeah, maybe you should focus
It's
on
a
the
little
road.
dangerous where you're driving.
Eyes up, buddy. Eyes up.
All right, let's get to the dirty poll, the top 10 of college football next on The Fan.
This is Pac-12 Championship Week with Dirt and Sprague.
Brought to you by Mods PDX. The future of building is here.
Now, from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
First on The Fan with Jonathan Smith set to be formally introduced as the new head coach in East Lansing later this morning. Rumors continue to grow, and Corvallis current Beavers defensive coordinator Trent Bray could be named his successor at Oregon State before the date is over. Just as important as the 9.5 points, Vegas has favored Oregon over Washington in Friday's Pac-12 championship game will be the numbers in front of their names. As the College Football Playoff Committee is set to release its latest rankings this afternoon, 4 o'clock on ESPN. For the first time in 29 times this NFL season, a team won a game without scoring a touchdown. Bears get 4 field goals from Cairo Santos, make them stand up against the Vikings for a 12-10 win as the Chicago defense picked off Joshua Dobbs 4 times. After blowing a 26-point lead Sunday, Blazers rebounded Monday night on the road, holding off the Pacers down the stretch for a 110 victory, led by 34 points from Jeremy Grant. Portland will continue their road trip Thursday in Cleveland. College hoops tonight over on 910 ESPN Portland. The Pilots head across the river to face their rival, the Portland State Vikings, for a 7 o'clock tip. Pre-game coverage starts at 6:30. Vikings currently 2.5-point favorites. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. Jason Swigart from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk. Spirit Mountain Casino brings you big games on big screens with big-time sports betting action. Learn more at spiritmountain.com.
The Odyssey app is your new audio home for all Dirt and Sprague
Brought to you by Mods PDX. The future of building is here.
on 1080 The Fan.
Colin Wilson will join us at 7:30. We've got the dirty poll to get to. The playoff will be released tonight. What do you guys think America wants? Not in the poll tonight, but what is the playoff that's most intriguing, entertaining, wild, and one that America, you think largely would go, yeah, those 4 teams would make me happy?
I think it starts with Florida State losing. We need Florida State to lose.
You're not giving them the Ohio State Cardell Jones thing, huh?
I'm not giving them a chance. No,
okay.
I'm just not. Maybe I'm wrong on that, and Florida State ends up winning the national title, and you can laugh in my face when that happens in a month or 2 months.
I think Georgia, Texas 1-4, Michigan, Oregon 2-3.
Yeah, I agree completely with
Texas,
that.
huh? You think America wants to see the Longhorns?
Yeah.
I think that would represent different conferences. You would have the SEC. The only conference that would be left out of that would be the ACC, and it's tough luck for Florida State, man. I've been there. We've had years where our quarterbacks that got hurt late in the season. It's the worst thing to happen. But if they end up winning this weekend and they get, whether it's the 3 seed or the 4 seed, they will get absolutely demolished by whoever they play. There is not a chance in hell Florida State wins a playoff game with a backup quarterback.
Swag, if we pulled the tape,
Write that down.
if we pulled the tape a year ago, would Dirt have been saying the same thing about TCU against Michigan? Because I think we both did.
We both did, and then at least I ended up being right in the national title game. The proof finally rose to the top.
Everybody
They
knew
lost
they were going to lose.
69-10. I don't even know if they scored 10. I think it was like 69-7.
I don't know who would have hung with that Georgia team. I don't think
Ohio
anybody
State
was.
did. They almost beat them. They should have beat them.
Touche.
Should
You're
have beat
right.
them in the first game.
Threw that right in my face.
If they don't call timeout on a fake punt,
Oh,
they would have won that game. Ohio State had a kick as the seconds wrapped up to win that game.
What would you make of the committee putting Texas, if they win the Big 12, and Oregon, if they win the Pac-12, Texas 3 against Michigan and making you play Georgia?
Be really upset. Really upset.
Because I could see the Dan Lanning smart thing being interesting for television. I
Yeah.
also think Oregon can hang with Georgia, and I know that sounds blasphemous to
It's
some.
easy for you to say over there, bud.
Punts. Punt sweatshirt. Let's go. I'm all in. There's no emotion tied to it. It's amazing.
Oh, I don't want nothing to do with that team.
The punts?
No, the
Oh.
Georgia Bulldogs.
Yeah,
I want
no.
nothing to do with that
You
team.
might have to face him to get
It's like
that first
PTSD
title.
that pops up when I see that name.
Huskies got a natty. You need to get yourself one.
Half of one, and it doesn't
No.
count. So, you know.
Let's get to the top 10 dirty poll countdown of college football. I can't fathom, by the way, final thought on this. I can't fathom a whole lot of controversy and anger and conversation from tonight's rankings because we have conference championship week. So it's kind of like this literally doesn't matter. The next one is the one that matters.
I think a big one will be, I don't expect it to happen, is does anybody jump Oregon as the top one-loss team? No. Where does Ohio State go? What do they do with Ohio State?
You're out.
And
You're
where
behind
does
Oregon.
And I tend to agree with you. I'm just saying that's the only thing to keep an eye on.
Hell out of here, Ryan.
Because if there's not a reason now to jump Texas ahead of Oregon, there won't be a reason this weekend because Oregon has the better matchup in their conference championship game. So if they both win, now you got to win, but if they both win, Texas is playing Oklahoma State, Oregon's playing Washington, there's no argument at that point to say Texas deserves to be in over them. Dirty poll will start at the back end of the top 10. Missouri's still in there, whatever. They're 10-2. That's fine. Eli Drinkwitz, good year. They're number 10. Number 9 is going to be the Oklahoma Sooners making their re-debut. They haven't been in a while. I've done some thinking on them. They're a 2-loss team, 10-2. They have a win over Texas. They're not in the Big 12 title game because they lost to Kansas and to Oklahoma State. I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt, though, in that Oklahoma State game because they had one of the worst no calls that I've seen maybe all season on what should have been a defensive pass interference in the end zone. The Big 12 cooked the books. Fine, whatever. But they're a 10-2 team. Oklahoma re-shows up.
Why would the Big 12 cook the books on Oklahoma?
Because they're leaving the conference. You remember what the commissioner said at the start of the year to
Yeah, go
Texas
Tech.
Tech? He said, go beat Texas in the final game of the season. They've been actively rooting against those teams all year. Watch that in officiating this weekend. What if Oklahoma State gets all the calls and wins the Big 12 title? Be hilarious. Number 8 is the free-falling Ohio State Buckeyes. Their resume is fine. Nobody that's watched that team, though, has thought, I think they can win a championship with that offense. Kyle McCord is not a good quarterback. I thought Stu Gatz had a great joke yesterday. They have Maserati Marv at wide receiver and Honda McCord at quarterback. I was like, that's pretty good. Ohio State has a couple of quality wins, but, Penn State and Notre Dame, whatever. That's not topping them into the highest-ranked one-loss team.
I said that 3 weeks ago on the show because the internet's been calling him Honda McCord.
Oh, they have? Oh, okay. Good joke. That was a good one, dude. Well done. Proud of you.
I'm 5 feet from you every day.
You say a lot. It's hard to keep track of all of it. Alabama is at number 7, unchanged there. Texas is at number 6, unchanged there. Oh, actually, no, they're all sliding up a spot because Ohio State slipped down. Oregon is now at number 5, still the top-ranked one-loss team. And the top 4 remains unchanged. I did have a hard time with the Washington-Michigan question. Like, Washington keeps doing this. Their resume is unquestionably, in my mind, better than Michigan's. But if you had to pick a team who's going to win on a neutral field right now, like everybody would take Michigan over Washington.
Yes.
But I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt resume-wise, and I want Oregon's win on Friday to look more impressive. So your top 4 remain Florida State, Michigan, Washington, and Georgia. And for the love of God, Louisville, please win this weekend and save us from the national nightmare of Florida State being in the playoffs.
So Washington 3, Michigan 4.
Washington is still 2. Michigan is 3.
Oh,
Florida State still 4.
okay. Sorry.
And number 1 is unchanged.
Okay.
The Georgia Bulldogs.
Okay, we got that all sorted out now. There we go.
There you go.
Top 10 Dirty Poll. Coming up next, is this narrative getting a little too loud? We'll talk about it next on The Fan.
Oregon. Hurt and Sprague
Brought to you by Mods PDX. The future of building is here.
on 1080 The Fan.
We don't need to dwell on this long. I don't know what the NBA is waiting on with the Josh Giddey story, but the fact that the guy is still playing, like, you don't want to punish him too much because you're still investigating. Cool, he can get paid without having to play. It's really gross to watch Oklahoma fans like giving a standing ovation in the starting lineup after that story came out. Like, really disgusting.
Yeah, not a good look.
I've always told you guys, Oklahoma, no offense to the good people in that state, and I know there are some. There's some nasty people there, and it is a gross state.
I saw that he was introduced the other night, and I was just wondering aloud in my living room, wait, what?
Still playing.
He's still, okay. Because Wander Franco had this with the Rays, and I'm pretty sure baseball put the kibosh on that immediately.
But Adam Silver, he's so progressive. He's so ahead of the curve.
So Malika sent a nice, strongly worded tweet. Actually, no, it wasn't. It was just a retweet. The NBA looking for more information. Well done, Malika.
She unfortunately was trending on Twitter yesterday, and I'm not going to talk
Feet to
about
the fire.
why.
Feet to the fire. You got to hold their feet to the fire. Come on.
There is a narrative building that's kind of bothering me. Now, not Bo Nix 3 weeks ago. Heisman talk bother me.
Uh-oh, you still got a bone to pick with Bo.
No, Bo's going to win it. I've conceded it. It is what it is. I get it. Congratulations to Bo Nix. A hell of a turnaround in career, by the way.
You going to start the hashtag, not my Heisman.
It'd be kind of funny if I did.
Not the real Heisman.
No, this one kind of bothers me maybe more. I want you to take a listen to Todd McShay.
Oh, okay.
Who was on the Ryan Russillo podcast and was asked if Jalen Hurts is now on the exact same level as Patrick Mahomes.
No matter how bad the first 3.5 quarters are, no matter what's going on, no matter what the situation, if you give him the ball under 2 minutes, down one score, he's going to find a way to win. And I'm starting to feel like that with Jalen Hurts. Like, you can outplay him for 3.5 quarters. Doesn't matter what's going on. He could be fighting with A.J. Brown on the sidelines. There's some issue that's going on. Whatever it is, I saw what I think it was 158 down whatever points they were, down field goal, whatever. I forget the exact situation, but he got the ball, and I was like, they're good, and then that was the case, and it's just remarkable. Like, I just watched Jalen Hurts, and I think he's got something special that very few. I think he and Mahomes are the only two guys that I absolutely would rely on.
So now we've reached a point of the season. Vegas. You're laughing. Vegas actually doesn't disagree with McShay all that much. He is the favorite right now in Vegas to win the league MVP. We've reached the point where the 10-1 Eagles.
Not Joe Burrow. Not Joe Burrow. No, we don't count on Joe Burrow anymore. He's not in that conversation.
Nope.
No, he's out.
Well, he's got in the lineup half the time.
Yeah, okay,
play?
sure.
Why don't you be healthy?
He's been in a Super Bowl and an AFC title the last 2 years.
Biggest
but,
ability is availability.
Hey,
God,
that's
this
true.
is so stupid.
That's true.
They're not. God, you're gonna get me going today.
Oh, look at this! I've also poked a bear with you. Jalen Hurts as good as Patrick Mahomes.
This is so
He
stupid.
did wear his
1-1.
hockey jersey. He's ready to drop the
He
glove.
did.
Dude,
Let's
I'm ready.
go.
Where's Todd McShay? Bring him in here. I'm gonna punch him in the face for this dumb of a take. This is
I
like
think Todd McShay would whoop your ass.
he totally would whoop my ass. He.
Better get the first punch in.
Oh, there's not a chance in hell. I
starts
wouldn't-
getting one good lick
Yeah.
in before.
Sucker.
I'm one punching and running. I'm
And he's
know how to do it.
grabbing the jerseys. He's going.
Dude, there is not a world that exists in which
Pulling
these
over-
guys
Pulling over it.
are the same quarterback. Like, just stop. The Jalen Hurts stuff is honestly making me anti-Philly. It's
Really?
leading me to, like, this is becoming the
Need
Deion
that?
Sanders
I don't
Colorado
need that
thing.
to make me anti.
Well, no, I get it. You used to be a Cowboy fan. I get it. You've always hated that city. I don't have any animal. I love Philly. I have family that lives in Philly. I got no issues with any of their
We
teams.
love Philly, the city. I've
And-
been there a few times.
Dude,
Great city.
Philly's an awesome city. It's a
Awesome
beautiful
city.
place, dude.
Never
The history
been.
there it's worth the trip,
I
dude.
need
If
to
you-
go to a game in the Palestra.
I'm too poor.
Citizens Bank Park is an awesome ballpark too. If you haven't been, great place to watch a game. Small, quaint,
You
really
guys
good
are getting
ballpark.
sidetracked.
Jalen Hurts is not Patrick Mahomes, and to insinuate otherwise is just questioning my intelligence. The fact that this dude is the leader for the MVP right now is almost more of an almost more of an indicator of just how everybody else is not having a good season. Because Jalen Hurts has 18 touchdowns and 10 picks. He's completing 68% of his passes. Like there's nothing that jumps off the page with him outside of rushing touchdowns, in which it's not even really him, it's his offensive line.
Tush push.
There's nothing more frustrating than Jalen Hurts just hiking the ball, falling forward because he has an elite offensive line,
brotherly shove,
and then getting up and acting as if he just ran a 40-yard touchdown and it flex. Yeah! Like, dude, you just got pushed forward by your entire team. You did not. Yes, you can squat a lot.
Isn't part of
Congratulations.
this his leg strength?
This stuff is driving me nuts. He is
like
not a
bench
top 5
press, a
quarterback in the
motorhome or
NFL.
something
He
like
is
that?
not. And we need to stop pretending that he is.
Not a what?
He's not a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. He is not.
What 5 quarterbacks would you take over him?
Over Jalen Hurts.
Right
Patrick
now.
Mahomes, easy.
Yeah.
Number 1. Number 2, you would take Joe Burrow without a question. I would definitely take.
Well, hold on. Here's my only question. You're talking about ability and skill, and with that, I'm not going to argue you.
Dude, if you're franchise draft, like if you have a fantasy draft, you can pick any quarterback you want. Yeah. There's nobody on the face of the earth that is taking Jalen Hurts over Joe Burrow.
I will say this.
Outside of the craziest Eagle fan.
What was the noise on Lamar in the contract dispute stuff? What was the noise from people who didn't want to pay him? It was
Can't play a whole season.
Can't play. He can't stay healthy. He's not available. Do you know that if Lamar Jackson plays this next game for the Ravens, which I think right now he's on track to, he will have played more regular season football games than Joe Burrow has since Joe Burrow has been drafted, and that was year 3 for Lamar Jackson. So the narrative by the fast, mobile quarterback is can't stay healthy. The pocket guy who's been to a Super Bowl and an AFC Championship game, well, the facts are he actually can't stay healthy as much as Lamar. So I won't argue skill with you. What I would argue, even though we kind of laughed, is the availability thing has to kind of play a factor just a little bit in your head, because you can say what you want about Jalen. He doesn't get hurt, or at least he hasn't yet.
Sure, that's fine. I'm that to me is more of an argument against how stupid it was to argue against Lamar Jackson getting paid. Outside of arguing against Joe Burrow being an elite quarterback. Does that make sense?
So you're saying, okay, so
like I see the analogy that you're making, and I agree with it.
That's my only
But I'm not
hesitancy.
using it to put down Joe Burrow.
Okay.
Quarterbacks get hurt, guys get hurt. It's a physical sport. And anybody who insinuated that Lamar is not a top 5 quarterback, he's won an MVP, he's taken them to the playoffs year in and year out. Like Lamar is better than Jalen Hurts. He's another guy that's on that list.
Okay, so
I
you
would
got-
take Herbert over Jalen Hurts in a heartbeat. Heartbeat.
Wow.
Not even
Josh
a second
Allen?
thought. Josh Allen, yes, over Jalen Hurts. Not even a second thought.
Hold on. Josh Allen, I actually thought Josh Allen was really good on Sunday.
Pick a game.
There's
Josh
5
Allen.
names right there. There's 5 names.
Josh Allen was really good to me on Sunday. He also was the one that threw the pick at the
His team
worst
can't
possible
run the
time.
football, and his defense is not elite. Philadelphia
They're hurt. They're hurt.
Philadelphia has one of the best defenses in the NFL. They have for the last 2 years. Their front 7 is as good as anybody's in the NFL. His offensive line is as good as anybody's in the NFL.
He definitely has the best
His
offensive
weapons
line.
are as good, arguably, as anybody's in the NFL. They can run the football as good as anybody in the NFL. But we look at quarterbacks and say, he's the reason they're winning. Like, when are we going to learn our lesson? Wins and losses are not a quarterback stat. Do we need to go through the Jimmy Garoppolo thing again? I'm not saying that Jalen Hurts is Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy Garoppolo couldn't even last 1 season out of San Francisco. His ass got benched by the Raiders. Because what happens when you no longer have elite talent surrounding him around him on the field?
Or elite coach.
He leads the NFL in interceptions. That's what happens. Jalen Hurts is really good, man. I don't want this to seem like I'm just trying to tear him down. It's the argument of putting him into these conversations that he does not belong in, that it exists in the NFL for the last year. He is not Patrick Mahomes, and this stuff drives me nuts.
Why does Vegas have him as the favorite? What's your guess?
I mean, who else would be the
Record?
favorite at this point? Name me another player.
Mahomes, I believe, is second, and their offense has not
is
been
clunky.
very good this year.
I would vote Mahomes over Jalen Hurts, but their offense has been clunky. I would vote C.J. Stroud over Jalen Hurts.
Let me ask you this. Let me throw this at you real quick. We haven't had a skill position guy win it since 2012 when Adrian Peterson got back from the ACL injury and rushed for 2,000 yards randomly.
Give it to Christian McCaffrey, man.
Is it McCaffrey? How about Tyreek Hill?
Sure.
Like, I love Tua, but man, Tyreek Hill is 10 yards away from every defensive back every play, it feels like. Every time he throws the ball to Tyreek, well, there's Tyreek, and he's getting another 30 yards. He's going to crush his goal of 2,000 receiving yards, which, by the way, he said that 2 years ago, and everybody laughed at him. He is overpacing 2,000 receiving yards this year.
Give it to him.
If there was ever a season to go back to a skill position player instead of just making this a quarterback award, which, again, 2012, like that's almost 12 years ago, I think this might be the season, given the injuries with the quarterbacks, given some not so good offense. Kansas City, they were fine against the Raiders. Their offense statistically has not been what it once was.
No, they don't have a deep threat. Their wide receivers are an issue.
And I know the Eagles are 10-1, whatever, and he had a good game Sunday, but I think if there's ever a season for a skill guy to win it, it'd be this year.
He is a part of their winning. He is not the reason that they're winning. And there's a difference. There's you could interchange a handful of quarterbacks on that roster, and you could tell me the Eagles are 10-1, and I would not laugh at you. You cannot do that this year with Kansas City.
So has he sold you on the franchise part though, Jalen Hurts?
That's fine. He's a franchise quarterback. I don't have any issue with that. You want to pay him, that's fine. Like we did this, they beat the Chiefs on Monday Night Football a week ago, and everybody ran with this same. You know what he was in that game? He was 14-22 for 150 yards and a pick.
But he made the play.
He had a QB sneak late. 2 rushing touchdowns.
What's the play?
Like, what are we doing here? His defense shuts him down. They don't allow Kansas City to score in the second half. They win the game late, and it's Jalen Hurts as a top 3 quarterback. I can't stand these narratives.
Man, you're going hard in the paint. I'm glad to see you're as fired up on this as me.
This is stupid.
I don't think he's the MVP either, personally.
Franchise guy, fine, but he's not Patrick Mahomes.
Hour number 2. We have a lot to get to in the Pac-12. We got a Pac-12 title game matchup, and we've got a chart that shows you where certain teams lie this year in college football that might surprise you or it may not surprise you. Hour number 2, Colin Wilson as well, Dirt and Sprague
online at modspdx.com.
I wasn't that long ago before a lot of people told us, hey, we don't control our own destiny anymore. I think maybe we just do.
Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
All right, welcome back in. Hour number 2, Dirt and Sprague here on youtube.com/1080 The Fan, the Odyssey app, 99.5 HD2, and of course 1080 AM on your radio dial.
Now being called MAGA Dirt on the YouTube chat because I evidently hate all black players.
Didn't you have Lamar in your top 5?
Yeah, I did.
And Patrick Mahomes?
Defended Lamar tooth and nail, said he was worth every penny of the contract. And then the same person proving my exact point, saying he's 10-1, Dirt. He's 10-1.
Quarterback stats, man. 10-1.
10-1.
Can't argue with record.
Was the only one that been throwing for 140 yards in a win. He's 10-1. Wins are wins, right? He was the only one that won that game.
I had a listener DM me on Instagram yesterday a photo from a quiz show that had a photo of a sloppy Joe, and it said, "What is this called? Meat in tomato sauce?" And your 4 options were sloppy Joe, something, Dirty Andy. They said, it'd be really great if you'd start calling him Dirty Andy. And I said, well, he's got a reputation.
He does seem like a guy who would have a sandwich named after
What's
him.
the better?
should,
We should
yes.
do this. What's the better? Here's a poll question for you. I was going to do a Cam Ward poll question, and I guess I'll have to hold off on this. What's the better nickname, Dirty Andy or MAGA Dirt?
Ooh. I think I'm going to go with Dirty Andy there.
I think a Dirty
I
Andy.
think I'm going to lean that direction.
Because that could be a cocktail.
It could.
That could be a sandwich.
Yeah. I'll try my best to not be racist the rest of the show, though. My apologies, guys. I'll try and tone down
That
my
could be some
overt
sort-
racism, which I know is over the top all the time. So I'll attempt my best to not be a racist for the next 2 hours.
That sweater doesn't help.
You could call some sort of backstabbing maneuver a Dirty Andy.
Swag brought in a Kim Jong-un pillow last year
Yes,
from
he
a
did.
random gift.
We have a Kim Jong-un pillow right
Yeah,
over there.
we had a white elephant party within the family, and
That's a weird joke. I just, let's be honest. That's a
I
weird
ended up
joke.
with that. I'm like, what am I gonna do with this?
I'm
Like,
gonna
you know
get,
what? We got a new couch in the studio. Here you go.
I'm gonna get Dirt a MAGA hat. I don't know what do you do with it, but there it is. Happy Christmas,
Yep.
Merry Christmas.
And a tea time at Doral. Have fun, buddy.
Oh, I
Go
love it.
tackle the blue monster.
I love it.
You know it was better in 1994. Oh no!
No, don't do it.
Don't say it.
Say it out loud. Don't do it.
say that. All right, Colin Wilson's going to join us at 7:30. I want to start the second hour. A good friend of the show. He doesn't get to listen as often. He's traveling right now, but I saw this on Twitter, and I've been noodling different angles because I want to kind of get into this Pac-12 title game Friday. I'm so excited for it, except yesterday I kind of didn't. Our good friend Casey Holdall just merely tweeted out the line of the game, 9.5, what's going on here. He's an Oregon guy, but he likes to sports gamble, and I think he's pretty reasonable with expectations and kind of looking at matchups and whatnot. And I was remembering the end of that Apple Cup game. I might be way stupid come Monday, so pull this audio if you want to save it. I'm kind of leaning almost all the way in that Oregon's going to trounce them. And it's not Oregon's just better. Washington's had a remarkable year. I've given them a ton of credit along the way. I think they've been a great story. I think that dude's hurt. And I think he's hurt a lot more than he's letting on. And I think he's been hurt since the Oregon game. When we talk about what's been the problem, they said he was sick for Arizona State. Okay. All right. He didn't look right. Maybe it was sick. Then Stanford. They needed a drop pass on 4th down to beat Stanford. Okay. I thought he was slinging the rock fine in that game too.
Mm-hmm.
And, you may look at him throw the ball and say, I think he's fine. He had some nice throws to Odunze in that game against Washington State. But then he walks off the field, and it kind of looks like he's grimacing, and people say it's emotion. They've categorized it as cramps with ribs. I think he's hurt. And I'm wondering how this is going to go for him Friday if he takes a blindside shot from Brandon Dorless, who is a monster of a human being. And why is that line so high? I think Oregon is playing good football. I also think Vegas might be on to something, and my I'm kind of leaning in on that. I think he's hurt. I think he's been hurt, and I don't think they want to tell anybody.
I was watching the Ryan Grubb press conference from yesterday, Washington. I actually like the way they do it. They bring out both coordinators, then their head coach. Like, dude, it's perfect, and I wish other schools would do that.
Oh, me too.
Because I'd love to hear from the coordinators every week, and I really like Ryan Grubb, and he's interesting. And he was asked about Penix and the way that he was reacting to the end of that game, and he dropped the line again. Basically asked, was he feeling okay? Was he doing all right? Is he banged up? Kind of the ending was weird. He said, he was a little under the weather at the end of that game. They started to use that again. And
He's sick again, huh?
Okay, so now but he was just sick at the end of the game, so he wasn't sick at the start of the game. Was he sick last week? I'm a little confused by this.
It was wet and cold. The weather got to him finally.
When you're under the weather thing, some weeks and some weeks you are, some weeks you aren't. It's hard to come up with any other reason for what they've looked like offensively for the last 8 weeks. Like, I know they've had wide receivers, and McMillan's been in and out. He didn't play against Oregon. They've been trying to get him back. Came back against Oregon State. Played a little bit this weekend.
Hasn't looked like himself.
Has not looked like himself. They feel like he's close to 100%. Polk has now had back-to-back games, by the way, without a catch. Now, part of that was the Oregon State tsunami game. It was hard to throw the ball. But then not having one and a couple of drops against the Cougars was not a great look on Saturday.
Yeah.
When you look at his numbers, Penix's that is, for the first, month, 5 weeks of the season, and then compare them to the last 7 weeks, like, it is a totally different player, night and day. And I think this has been one of the Heisman arguments, honestly, for Bo, is that he just hasn't had a bad game. He hasn't had a clunker. He hasn't had a dry spell for whatever reason. Maybe it's because he has more talent around him. He hasn't had one of those stretches. And so it's hard for me to look at Penix and what Washington was doing early in the year offensively and then look at them now and conclude anything else. Like, nothing changed schematically. I know McMillan's been out of the lineup, but their offense should still function at a high level.
The defensive line is still healthy.
They've actually been running the ball better later in the year than they were earlier in the year. And so I have a hard time drawing any other conclusion than he's just been banged up. And I bet he probably took a couple of shots to the ribs against the Cougs in that game. And to your point about Dorless, like, if I'm Oregon, man, that is my main objective early in that game.
I'm hitting him.
Get after him and hit him and make him as uncomfortable as you possibly can. Because for as confident as everybody is in Oregon winning this game, I get it. The matchup Oregon's been playing better for a month and a half. There is one weakness on Oregon's defense, and it is their secondary. They're not great in coverage at the safety position, and if you can throw the ball down the field, you can take advantage of that. That's how Washington won the first game. They got a 4th down stop and scored in 2 plays from 50 yards out, for heaven's sakes. And so if they can throw the ball downfield efficiently, I think it'll be a tighter game. But if he's banged up, then I lean into they don't stand any chance.
Well, and I think Oregon's going to give us that answer pretty quickly in the game. Because if he has the time to he can throw the football. I'm not suggesting he can. I've been watching him, but something's been a little off. And maybe defenses have picked up some of their stuff. Maybe they're too reliant on the pass, and so they put themselves in very quick 3-and-out situations, and they're giving the ball back with less than like a minute and a half. I was kind of amazed just how quickly it feels in person. Like when Oregon State got a couple stops, 3-and-out, less than a minute. And it's
it goes quick.
Yeah, because you throw the ball, there's 3 seconds. Throw the ball, there's 4 seconds. You know what? It's less than 30 seconds sometimes if you get a 3-and-out on him. Maybe it's that. Or maybe he is pretty banged up and those ribs are sore and delicate. And he takes a couple shots and he's instantly in pain. I don't know. But that line is awfully high. And even if Oregon fan is confident in it, it still makes you kind of do a double take of, wait,
why is it that big?
12-0 team, 9.5-point underdogs.
And they won the head-to-head matchup earlier this year.
They've won the 2 matchups in the Lanning DeBoer era, and I think my only conclusion has to be that he's more banged up than let on. But if that Washington offensive line can protect for him, you're certainly not wrong. He can tread any defense, but it's how much time is he going to get? And if Oregon gets to him, which I'd imagine Taj Lapoy and Dan Lanning have some plans of pressures, disguising coverage, just coverages, pressures, etc., just mixing things up a little differently than they've shown the first time they played. Well, we may see it play out in real time of, he isn't right physically. I don't want him to be hurt. I wish he was 100% healthy, but I've kind of felt like he was more hurt in that game than they let on. They said he was cramping, and that wasn't what somebody cramping does.
The other piece of the puzzle is Dylan Johnson is banged up too. He had to come out every few plays in that Washington State game and get looked at or taped up or
It's because he tries to hit everybody when
Yeah.
he runs. He's a physical
he-
runner.
Well, it's the other
He's-
part of playing 8 straight close, tight games. Like, they have not had the ability to put their
He is
feet up and rest.
definitely not playing at 100%.
One of our a Husky commenter on the YouTube chat says that, don't forget Penix coming into the year was on a pitch count at practice because of shoulder pain.
That's a good point, too.
And so saying,
Yeah.
I bet he doesn't throw a single football during the week during practice
For
to
sure.
try and keep the strength up. That could be it, too. Maybe that's why they're
That's a
out of
good
sync.
point.
I saw Grubb also insinuate that Washington State deciphered some of their signals in that game, and they realized it by the time the second half came around. That he just was... I gave Penix a ton of credit for the way he played in the Oregon State game because those conditions were awful, not easy to throw the football.
Yeah.
And I thought his final stat line, you could blame him for that or say he didn't play great. Like, dude, to have those numbers in a downpour the entire game, that was impressive, including that final third down throw that iced the game, which was a great back shoulder throw to Roma Dunze. He had some throws late in that Apple Cup. We didn't get to it a ton yesterday because we were sidetracked. He tried to throw the game away.
He threw one in the end zone
multiple
with like
times.
4 defenders that got dropped, and
Just-
I'm like, oh.
In a tie game, just lobbing the ball when you're in
Yeah.
field goal range,
Yeah.
just lobbing the ball into the end zone. And that to me reeked of a guy who there was pressure. I don't want to get hit. I'm just throwing it away because I don't want to take that shot to wherever I'm feeling pain. Because if not, that was very uncharacteristic for him. I know he's thrown a couple of picks. Some of them aren't his fault this year. But just to chuck balls up and be like prayers when you have a tie game in the fourth quarter and you're in field goal range, that was uncharacteristic for him.
And some one-on-ones with Odunze and the DB. He would throw it. The DB, he didn't place it in the right spot. DB would drop the pass. Like, you're certainly right there. He had a couple passes that should have been picked by Washington State, and maybe Washington State wins that game, but they didn't. And it's the slimmest of margin that Washington wins another game. There's a list with Washington and Oregon State that I want to get to, and it would kind of make sense once I read it. Next on The Fan.
The Herd with Colin This is Pac-12 Championship Week with Dirt and Sprague
Brought to you by Mods PDX. The future of building is here.
on 1080 The Fan.
Swag, real quick, answer a question for me. Most likely to sue the other, Dirt or Sprague? Who's more likely to sue the other?
Ooh,
Because you know Hall sued Oates, right?
yeah.
What did he sue him over?
We don't know. It's been left confidential, but there's a restraining order and a lawsuit between Hall and
Boy,
Oates.
that's a tough one because Dirt just doesn't like conflict.
No, he doesn't. But if it's bottled up long enough, as we saw with the
And I don't
racist
know,
MVP
because
conversation,
The impetus, the shove is going to come from your spouses. Like, they will be the ones that say, you are not going to let, because neither one of you don't have the heart to do it. You have the most compassion, Sprague, of anybody here. You don't have the heart to do it. You will find it's just like, I'm going to lose. I'm going to have to pay all these lawyer fees.
hey, you're speaking my language, man.
So yeah, it's
So Dirt's suing me.
I'm trying. No, I think the motivation will come from the spouses, and I don't know either one of them
My wife
well enough.
would never sue anybody.
And Michelle
Never.
doesn't seem that way either.
No chance.
So I don't know.
Michelle would be like, we're just not going to talk to them anymore. Like,
We're
Yeah,
not
Dirt
inviting them
would
over
just
for a
close you out.
barbecue.
Dirt would just be done. He's ghosting you. You're done.
yeah.
I'm going to sue you to have my name on the show twice. Should be the Nick Batum Do It Sprague show again.
But I will say, and if you go back to, I will go, if push came to shove, if it absolutely came down to something that could not be, I think it would be Dirt. Because every once in a while, and we pushed his buttons with the Jalen Hurts stuff.
Yeah, we did.
You find something and you push his button, and all of a sudden, the ranting, evil Energizer Bunny shows up.
Yeah.
So
we all have triggers.
He's got a
Yeah.
Me, Myself, and Irene vibe to him,
We
man.
all have
So I
triggers,
think
man.
It's gonna
if
lose
it
in a
came down
grocery
to it,
line.
if there was no arbitration mediation way to solve your issue,
Yeah.
it would be Dirt that forced it.
My wife has no idea what she's in for Friday night. No idea.
Really?
No idea.
How has she not learned at this point?
She worked for the first Oregon-Washington game. She worked that day, and I watched Home Alone with the dog. She's off on Friday. She's going to get a full frontal glimpse of what I'm like. She's seen, a little bit here, a little bit there, not to this level.
Well, she's the one that's pregnant, so I need you to remember that
This
when
is
you're
a
like,
big one.
"Why don't you shut up?"
Well, the worst thing is, too, we have a baby shower on Saturday.
I know.
And my presence has been requested. Like, I can't get out of it.
Oh, I'm not going. You know
You,
that, right?
Yeah, you don't. Yeah, it's okay.
I don't think guys should go.
So but it's like I have family coming into town that I don't see very often. So it's like my mom's, hey, I want you there. And so
So this could be delicate.
this is going to be delicate.
If Washington
If
wins,
they lose and I got to
oh.
put on a good face for a baby shower on Saturday, I'm blocking the doors.
Does she know
Lee,
to
drop
tell
the present
everybody
off
coming
and
if
get
that
off my
happens
property.
not to wear purple? Just don't wear purple.
Oh,
You should have put that on
Like,
the invite.
I should have put that on the invite.
Yeah, because like if somebody that's gonna be or that was maybe in her bridal party shows up wearing purple, man.
Wait till he opens the gifts.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm trying to think in our relationship. I haven't watched a lot of like big time sporting events or had to with her.
Nobody knows the dad of that baby shower better than me.
If
you
you-
wait for those gifts to be opened.
I will throw something out if I need to. It will get burned. If you bought something that's egregious, it will get burned.
she'll never even know. She's like, wait, I thought she'll get the thank you. She's writing thank you cards, and like a friend's like, did you not get my gift?
Keep the receipt. That's all I'll say. Keep the receipt.
She like the only one that I can think of was the Giants blowing their lead in the Cub playoff game, but that was like early in our relationship. I haven't had a lot of high stakes fandom games since then.
It's a good point.
The Ducks, I mean, they've been fine. They've had big games, but not to this level. And
This
the
is a
Giants,
massive one.
Giants have sucked for a long time.
We talked about how Washington wins some of these games by the slimmest of margins.
Yes.
I thought this was really interesting. I follow him on Twitter. His name is Bill Radajewski. It's collegefootballdata.com. I probably said that last name wrong. I'm really bad with names. I'm sorry. I am who I am. But he runs through all of the analytics. Like he goes into deep dive, weighted EPA, like stuff like you kind of understand, but you're not fully all the way in on. You know, Dave Bartu language. He uses things and phrases and analytics that really kind of find out where teams are statistically.
Expected turnover margins.
All that. Yes, he uses all of them. He put a chart together, 2 charts. 4 of the top 6 teams, on this chart are in conference championship games this weekend.
It's usually how it works, man. You got to catch breaks sometimes to get there.
And this chart is deemed luckiest teams in college football by win expectancy with their stats versus what they actually accomplished. Number 1 is Oklahoma State. They were expected to be at 4.8. They've won 9 games this year, and it's made no sense to anybody.
They got smoked at home by South Alabama. Think
Washington is 3rd on this list. 12 wins. Their win expectancy was 9.2. So they're 2.8 above.
Yep.
Florida State is 5th on this list, 9.5. They've obviously got 12. And Iowa. God-forsaken Iowa. Should have won 7.7 games, have 10 wins. On the other side of this, he did the unluckiest teams in college football. There is a team locally that is on this list.
Give me number 1 first. Give me number 1.
Number 1 unluckiest team in college football, the Nebraska Cornhuskers.
My Cornhuskers.
They were expected to win 8.1 games. They won 5. Number 16 on this list, my Oregon State Beavers. They should have won 9.3.
Yes.
They've won 8. We all kind of know this. They should not have lost the Arizona game.
Yep.
And I feel like if they could play Wazoo again, they'd probably correct that situation.
Not to mention hiking a ball over your punter's head and having a pretty big impact on the Washington game.
That is also bad luck. But it's just interesting to note, based on analytics, and I don't think Washington fans would really get upset by. I know luckiest can come with a negative connotation. I feel like Husky fan would acknowledge there's a few games that it's like,
oh, they know it more than anybody. They've been having
escaped.
heart attacks every Saturday for 2 straight months. Like I wouldn't wish that on anybody. That's brutal, man, to have to ride that roller coaster week in and week out. The funniest thing out of all this was a top 10 lucky team was the USC Trojans. And the USC Trojans went 7-5, and they were one of the 10 luckiest teams in the country. Somebody brought up an interesting point.
should have won 5.3 according to this.
I don't know how the tiebreakers would have worked out matchup-wise, but somebody mentioned Oregon needs to be very thankful for USC because I think Arizona might have had tiebreakers over Oregon. I don't know how that works. If Jedd Fisch had just gone for 2 against USC,
they'd be in it.
We could be in a world right now where it's Arizona and Washington in the Pac-12 title and Oregon doesn't get their rematch.
And we would be saying, like, Oregon should be in this, but I don't know if we could also say, like, Arizona doesn't deserve. Arizona had a great season this year.
They had a great, nobody would pick Arizona to beat Oregon, but they had a great year.
Would you pick Arizona to beat Washington in the rematch? I'd lean on it.
I'd think about it.
I don't know if I'd pick it, but I'd lean on it for a while.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd pick it. Somebody brought up a good point on Oregon State, too, just in terms of unlucky, schedule-wise. They got Arizona when Arizona was playing good football and had figured it out with Fafita. They got Washington State when they still knew how to play football early in the year.
That was me.
And if you flip those games, they could have easily been different results. Somebody brought that up, and I was like, that's a really good point.
Do your headphones work, Dirt?
You know, a national guy said this joke. Honda McCord. I said it 3 weeks ago on the show, 5 feet
I don't
from
think
you.
Dirt's headphones work.
If it makes you feel any better, I do this to my wife all the time, too.
I told you a listener tweeted me, man.
Throw a lot of info at me. I can't keep track of all of it.
Oregon State had flipped the Arizona-Washington State games. They don't lose those games. Yeah, I said that.
Somebody brought up a good point, too, in the text line saying, I would never sue you because you're white. What? I mean, I'm a racist, clearly, so I would never sue you. Although you are part Asian, so maybe I would. I don't know. I could find an angle. You never know.
Is that what you say? You're part Asian?
Is that the labeling there?
What am I supposed to say?
Yeah,
You're a quarter Asian?
I don't know. It just kind of sounded weird out loud.
Just a left leg? Like,
You're
what do we give
part
you?
Asian. I don't know.
Which part?
You're part. You're part Asian.
You can't see it. Unfortunately, it's the part you can't see.
Cat pervert.
All right. Well, let's get
Wilson
going. Colin Wilson is next.
Huskies are lucky.
I mean, they are, but
They are. It's okay to say that.
I do think it's okay.
They might
to say
win on
that.
Friday. They might go to the playoff. They're this year's TCU. It's okay to say that.
Colin Wilson, how does he feel about it? Is Washington lucky? Does he have Oregon rolling? We'll hit him up with that and the other college football conference title games, the playoff. All of that is next. Colin Wilson, the Action Network. But first, Swag with the sports update.
This is Pac-12 Championship Week with Dirt and Sprague.
Brought to you by Mods PDX. The future of building is here.
Now, from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
Brought to you by Vulcan Design and Construction. Check out their award-winning outdoor living designs or schedule your free design consultation at vulcandc.com. First on The Fan, 9 a.m. Pacific time is the scheduled introductory press conference for the new head football coach at Michigan State, Jonathan Smith. Meanwhile, in Corvallis, rumors continue to persist that defensive coordinator Trent Bray is the leading candidate to be his successor. A deal could be done before the day is over. The Ducks, 9.5-point favorites over Washington Huskies for Friday's Pac-12 championship game. What will their rankings be going into it? The newest football playoff committee rankings will be released today, 4 o'clock on ESPN. It wasn't a pretty sight Monday night in Minneapolis. 6 combined turnovers, 4 field goals was enough for Chicago to beat the Vikings 12-10. Blazers blew a 26-point lead on Sunday. They bounced back Monday night on the road, held up the Pacers down the stretch in the fourth quarter for a 114-110 victory, led by 34 points from Jeremy Grant. Portland now heads on to Cleveland to continue the road trip on Thursday. College hoops tonight on 910 ESPN Portland. The Pilots head across the river to face their rival Portland State. 7 o'clock tip. Our pregame coverage starts at 6:30. Vikings currently 2.5-point favorites. More sports scores and stories. 30 minutes. Jason Swigard from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk. Spirit Mountain Casino brings you big games on big screens with big-time sports betting action. Learn more at spiritmountain.com.
Your favorite fan shows are on YouTube. some you haven't.
How'd you do that? Actually, I'm not even mad. It's amazing.
The Daily Ticker with Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
All right, Daily Ticker time here on a Tuesday. Let's keep talking conference championships. We were just touching on Oregon and Washington a little bit there. Joining us now is good friend of the program, Colin Wilson, @_Colin1 on Twitter. He's a senior writer at the Action Network, Big Bets on Campus. Colin, good morning to you. Thanks for the time, man. We're looking at that Washington-Oregon line. We knew Oregon would be favored. We're a little taken aback by how high that number is. Are you having the same reaction, and how do you feel about the rematch in Vegas?
I've been having that same reaction for about 4 weeks. They posted a look-ahead line about a month ago, and it was Oregon -3, and I thought to myself, how in the world do you beat a team by 3 points, and you're going to be an underdog on a neutral site? And it's just grown and grown and grown over the past month to this huge number where it's Washington now 9. I mean, just throw everything out. Throw the eyeball test out. The team that won the game by 3 points is now an underdog of 9 points, and they're undefeated. It's one of the craziest numbers I've ever seen.
Does it make you want to pick Oregon, though, in a way? Because, yeah, Washington getting disrespected, but we talked about Penix. He kind of looks like he's been hurt since that Oregon game. Rib injury. They've labeled it sick, cramping, whatnot, but he's had moments where it looks like he's wincing or he's covering up his face with a hoodie. Does it make you kind of wonder if Penix is hurt going into this thing and that maybe the value is on Oregon?
Well, there's a lot of things going on. Some of it is that. There could be an injury to Michael Penix going on. I'm not sure if that's what's got this number up so high, but Oregon also beating everybody by at least 14 points since that game plays a big part of it. Washington, there's a story floating around right now that Washington State basically knew every play that Washington was going to run, and that's the reason that they kept it close. So that's also an unspoken thing that's going on this week that I'm trying to figure out if the playbook on Washington is out. So that's another element to look at. But, yeah, it's all of these things, from Penix possibly being hurt, the way Oregon has looked. Defenses have adjusted and said, please run on us, and that's how you got, Dylan Johnson running for 250 against USC. And then the Washington defense can be had on the ground. I think everybody's pretty much figured that out.
Where are you at on the Heisman market? Because I know this game will have a big determining factor in that. It seems like it's a two-guy race. Is Penix eliminated? Just where are you at on that market?
I mean, it seems like it's a two-man race, which is Daniels and Nix. I think if Oregon wins, it's definitely Bo Nix's. I mean, you just cannot play this weekend and then expect to win the Heisman unless you've got Lamar Jackson's numbers, which Jaden Daniels doesn't. Bo Nix, absolutely, this is his award. I think he would have to probably go sub 200 passing yards, maybe more interceptions than TDs, and definitely lose the game for him to lose the Heisman. I could even see him play stellar, Oregon lose, and him still win the Heisman. So it's definitely his. I'm not sure how Penix wins. He would have to have a Joe Burrow 9 TD type performance to get it done.
Conference championship game outside of the Pac-12. You got the ACC, Louisville coming off a loss to Kentucky, Florida State surviving against Florida with a backup quarterback and looking good defensively. You've got Georgia, Alabama, which is always an interesting one. Which one do you like the most right now? Is it the Big 12 title game? Where are you at on conference championship week this weekend?
Well, the play for Louisville, Florida State is going to be the under. That one opened up and is immediately taking some money down. 48 is very key, so I would try to get under before that. A lot of love in the market for Louisville to beat Florida State. I'm not sure I'm there yet. That once they got 2 quarters behind Tate Rodemaker, he looked like a completely different person against Florida. So I don't know. Florida State may be a buy if it goes down a little bit farther. The Oklahoma State-Texas number, I think Texas is on a mission to put a 50-burger up and look good to the committee. They know that they're behind the 8 ball. They need a ton of things to happen for them to get in, one of them being Florida State losing. Alabama has to have a loss. So if you're wanting Texas to get into the playoff, you're going to have a couple of things that have to happen, and Texas needs to put another 50-burger up on Oklahoma State. Now, they do play early. They play at 11 a.m. Central Time, so I believe they will put up that amount of points, so I definitely like them to cover the spread. I think there's not a lot of underdog action here that I love. I'm definitely not Iowa. I would take the over. That Big Ten championship, just take the over 35.5. I believe Iowa can score more than 7, and I'm pretty sure Michigan's going to do everything they can to put up as many points because, Harbaugh's back on the sideline, and they believe it's them versus the world.
Yeah, that over-under is a funny number. You mentioned some of the other dogs. I mean, the only other one that is notable is probably Alabama this weekend, and I don't know how to feel about that game because you look at last week as it would be in a look-ahead spot. I know it's the Iron Bowl, but they're luckier in hell to win that game on 4th and 31 and completing that pass in the back of the end zone. That's always a heavyweight battle, though, when they play. There's been games where I've gone in saying Alabama doesn't have a chance, and they've beaten Georgia. A couple of years ago that happened. How do you look at that matchup? Because that is the chaos I think us in the Pacific Northwest are terrified of what happens if Alabama wins that game. Are you really keeping Georgia out, and then you can't keep Alabama out of the playoff at that point?
Well, there's no way in the world that the SEC champion will not be in the playoff. But, on the other hand, Georgia would be out. And I know that we've had previous years where there just weren't good enough one-loss teams. And that's why you had two teams from the same conference make it. But that's not the case this year. Oregon, Texas, these are one-loss teams with major wins on their record. And so they would definitely come in. So the loser of this game is out. The number took a little bit of a rise after it opened, and I think that's the result of what happened in the Auburn game, people thinking that Alabama may be vulnerable. But you know what? For those of us that watch SEC religiously, that's just the Iron Bowl. This is a product of the Iron Bowl. It happens every single time. So the game should be lined at 4. So you're getting some value on Alabama here in a game that I think is completely picked. They run the same offenses. They run the same defenses. These two coaches work together forever. 6 points is a lot of points.
I got a two-parter for you. One, we talked about this earlier today. What's your dream playoff? If I gave Colin Wilson the ability to pick the 4 teams that he wants to see play in the first round, meet in the championship, who are the 4 teams Colin Wilson likes? And we've never actually personally met. You've been on the show a handful of times. We reference how you like to come out to Bandon once a year and play golf. I actually on Saturday felt like I wanted to give you a hug. Your Arkansas Razorbacks are in a really bad spot, and they showed a lot of their ugly this weekend. So are you doing okay with that?
I get a lot of texts from people that, are you doing okay? Are you doing okay? And I keep telling everybody, like, if you're a Razorback lifetime fan, you've been through the plague. I mean, Bobby Petrino, John L. Smith, we fired our coach after losing to the Citadel in the 90s. I mean, this is nothing new. This is a condition that's never left us. So, yeah, I'm doing all right. If I had a dream playoff, it would definitely be Georgia and Texas in the Sugar and Michigan, Oregon in the Rose Bowl. I think Michigan, Oregon in the Rose Bowl has the chance to be one of the greatest scenes in college football history because that's an old classic Rose Bowl, Big Ten, Pac-12 matchup. And you'd be in the semifinal to make the national championship.
It's a bit of a futures question for you, but I'm an Oregon State alum, so Jonathan Smith, the Civil War, all of that happened. That's a devastating blow to a fan base, and we don't know where Oregon State's going to be in the next couple years, but we know where he's going to be. He's going to be at East Lansing, Michigan, where they've deemed him the king of the North. What's the futures look like to you with Jonathan Smith as the coach of Michigan State? How are you playing Michigan State maybe the next year or two? What do you think that's going to look like for him?
It's definitely a positive, and the fact that he's going to take some of his coaching staff with him, and the fact that there could be some transfers out of Oregon State that make their way to East Lansing, it's all a positive. The one thing we don't know is he going to be able to replicate the power running game at Michigan State in year one? A little bit of a daunting task, especially considering the schedule that they've got to play every year. But Michigan State absolutely had a home run hire. In my opinion, all these names of these coaches that are being handed out, Jonathan Smith was number one. I wanted him at Arkansas. You want a power running game? Bring him to the SEC, please. But no, he's going to be at Michigan State. So it's nothing but positivity. But now you got to have the horses. You've got to go through a roster that's been completely depleted. Everybody was hitting the transfer portal. Even Peyton Thorne hit it after the spring game and played for Auburn this year. So he's got to get a control of that roster. And that is not going to – I mean, look at Matt Rule. It's just not an easy thing to do to go into the Big Ten, get people to come to really cold locations, and then try to compete with Ohio State and Michigan.
Yeah, the conference is going to get tough for next year, too. Colin Wilson, one of our favorites, Action Network, @_Colin1 on Twitter. Go give him a follow. Big Bets on Campus. We always appreciate the time, man. Glad you're hanging in there with your Razorbacks. Good luck winning your bets this weekend, and hopefully we can catch up again soon.
Thanks for having me, guys.
There you go, Colin Wilson. He was molded by the darkness, is I think what he was trying to say there.
You know, there is an element of, like, when something happens to a team that somebody roots for, there is an element of, like, the text actually, if you're okay, is kind of annoying.
It is.
And I don't mean this at a shot at anybody, but I had like 9 texts this week of, You doing okay?
I was not going to text you guys. I know you're not doing okay. I know what the answer to that question is, and I'm not sending that text.
I'm like, yeah, I mean, it's a really bad situation. I don't know what you want me to say here.
No, I'm not, man.
I'm crying right now.
Come give me a hug.
That's interesting. Home run higher.
He's a home run higher. He's the king of the North, don't you know?
Does he know he's going through a midlife crisis?
I don't think he knows that. We will play some Jonathan Smith audio for you coming up in the final hour. Don't forget the mail sack also coming up at 8:15. Your questions are welcome. 503-864-6326. That is the Vancouver Ford text line, or you can fire them off on the YouTube live chat. I want to get to a concerning thing that I have. There was a graphic over the weekend that terrified me. Are we putting any stock in this? Please don't let it happen. That is next on The Fan.
Who's stinking it up?
Do not go in there.
It's time for Who's Stinking It Up, a sports lowlight that's ripped from the headlines.
We couldn't do diddly poo.
Brought to you by Three Mountains Plumbing. Schedule your appointment online at threemountainsplumbing.com.
We need to change, it's not to happen again. A lot. Is there anything in particular? Not a lot.
Yeah, there's LeBron James. You couldn't understand a word he said, but they lost by 46 points last night.
Ooh, who did they play?
Philadelphia 76ers. Lakers are 10-8 on the year.
Rough moment for LA basketball. The Clippers can't win with their star assembled team. The Nuggets didn't even play anybody, and they still lost last night. Bad times for LA.
Who's stinking it up? Anthony Davis and the Lakers. Brought to you by Three Mountains Plumbing. Make plumbing and electrical services delightful. Get your time back and let the pros tackle whatever project you need completed. Schedule an appointment online. Three Mountains Plumbing. That is threemountainsplumbing.com.
Hey, everybody. Sprague here. Leaves are falling, cold
This is Pac-12 Championship Week with Dirt and Sprague
Brought to you by Mods PDX. The future of building is here.
on 1080 The Fan.
Well, the playoff will be announced on Sunday. We got to get through conference championship games. We'll determine who the final four are on Sunday morning.
I have avoided the playoff ranking every week. It's been on television. It's too early. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's 4 o'clock. Well, except for that one college basketball day where they have the tournament, and then it doesn't happen until like 6 or 6:30, and then that one college basketball game gets really high ratings because everybody's waiting for the rankings to come out, and then everybody turns it off for the second game.
I also find myself getting upset listening to somebody making $2 to $4 million a year have no real explanation and sound stupid.
Yeah.
Talking about a sport that we all watch
Your boys
and cover.
boo.
Boo, boo.
Boo, Carrick. No, I'm talking about the people actually like an ESPN.
Greg McElroy is going to be distraught. Alabama won a great game against Auburn this weekend. It is the Iron Bowl.
You throw the records out the window when they play?
Have you ever heard of it?
I wanna see
While
what
also in the same
McElroy
breath
has to say
probably
about his
blaming
boys. Joey Galloway propping up Ohio State that they still deserve to be in the top four.
Did you see Desmond Howard call Pete Thamel a coward this weekend?
Dude, that was in my notes. We need to talk about that. Desmond Howard is a problem. He's not good, first off.
No, he's not.
He's just like, there's nothing he ever says. It's like, oh, interesting, good point. Desmond Howard doesn't bring anything to the table. He fear shamed a coworker. Pete Thamel has been getting death threats from Michigan fans because of the reporting he's done on their cheating scandal.
Yeah.
That their coach got suspended for, that they then accepted the suspension. And he called him out live on College Game Day and said, where's Pete? Why is he doing the reports from inside the stadium? Why isn't he out here with the fans? And Reese Davis was like, are you serious right now?
Yeah, he was like, he's had death threats. He was, nobody's going to
Come on, these are nice people. They wouldn't do anything. It's like, what is the matter with you?
Yeah.
This is a cult.
Why wouldn't you
have
go
a
to
problem.
Corvallis there, Desmond?
Yeah. God, that stuff drives me nuts.
Interesting, the one person Dirt picked on that panel that he has a problem with.
You know who else was an idiot, never said anything interesting? David Pollock, and I'm glad he got fired. There you go. You happy now?
Wow.
I'm just trying to balance it out, okay?
Wow.
Trying to beat the allegations.
I liked David Pollock.
I couldn't stand David Pollock. He was an SEC honk. Get him out of here. We have enough of those. I already have Feinbaum on my TV. I don't need 13 SEC honks on the same day as.
He's been honking up for your Duckies.
Where?
On his programs.
Does he have programs?
Yeah, davidpollock.com.
Oh, okay.
Programs.
I don't know.
I don't.
I feel like I watched him do an interview from a car. He's like, I like Oregon. And I'm like, he's David
Hey,
Pollock.
look at that. He likes Oregon. Yeah. I think he's a big Jesus guy. He's a big Team Jesus guy now. I think that's what he's doing. Last time I saw David Pollock.
Are you suggesting he's doing like Christian television?
I think he's just like into. I don't know. Last time I saw a tweet from
Like
him,
a Joel Osteen thing?
It was a
or-
religious tweet. Last time I saw it.
Oh.
So I don't know. I don't know what he's doing. I saw this Saturday night. I can't remember what game they showed it during. The Football Power Index from ESPN is a very controversial thing.
Not a fan of it.
They now have at ESPN the playoff predictor.
Oh, yeah.
The playoff predictor.
I know.
Now, mind you, this is Saturday night. So Civil War's already happened. Michigan-Ohio State's already happened. I believe the Auburn-Alabama game was over at that point.
Apple Cup's done.
Apple Cup's done. This is end of the night, like Pac-12 after dark time.
Yeah, all those games are done.
Here was their top 4 teams' percentage chance to make the college football playoff. You ready for this? Michigan was number 1 at 95%. Can get it. They beat Ohio State. They're playing Iowa this weekend. Michigan's in. They're not going to lose to Iowa. Georgia was number 2 at 85%. People thinking, Alabama's probably not going to beat them. They barely beat Auburn. Georgia's probably in the playoff. Florida State was 3rd at 72%. You know who the number 4 team was?
Texas.
And this is my terrifying thing for tonight.
Oh, stop. You got nothing to be afraid of.
Ohio State, 54% chance to make the college football playoff.
Look, that's for show and clicks, man.
Where are they going to be ranked tonight?
Ohio State?
I want to answer that question right now. We'll watch the rankings and scream at each other about it tomorrow. Will they be ranked ahead of any of the other one-loss teams that are Oregon, Texas, and Alabama? Or will they fall to the back of the line?
They will be ahead of Oregon.
They will be ahead of Oregon.
Then they'll be
But it
number
won't
1.
matter.
Oh,
But it won't matter.
okay. So Oregon, if they win Friday, will
Oregon
jump them
wins.
ahead?
I will bet a decent amount of money. If Oregon wins, they're in. You can play out scenarios all you want. They win, they're in.
Okay. So you think they'll be that would make them the number 5 ranked team in the country?
Oregon?
Ohio State.
Something like that. Yeah.
Because Oregon was 6
6th
last week.
Yeah.
Ohio State lost. They were number 2, I think, in the
Louisville
rankings.
lost, so that helps. You bump them down.
Well, sure. They were out of the conversation anyway.
Florida State, like I know what you're suggesting. I understand it. I'm kind of with everybody, but like that defense was pretty nasty. And They made some plays when they needed to in that game against Florida.
Against a backup quarterback.
I know Florida's not very
Florida
good.
sucks. They just fired half their staff.
It's a road game with a backup quarterback after you suffer
Throw the records out.
Catastrophic injury.
They played fine defensively. I'll grant you that.
I think Ohio State's going to be above Oregon, but again, I don't think that should bother anybody.
Okay.
Oregon wins, they're in. It's that simple.
Okay. Swag, where do you
Win
think
and
Ohio
you're
State is ranked?
I think they slide. I think they slide to 6.
Dude, they're for sure got to be ahead of Bama because Bama lost to Texas and Bama just narrowly escaped Auburn with their
Texas
lives.
will be. I think they go in between Oregon and Texas.
I agree with that. That's
okay.
I think they love Oregon. I think the strength of record.
Oh, you think Oregon's going to be ahead of Ohio State?
Oregon will be ahead of Ohio State. Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, they did take care of Oregon State rather easily at home, and that's a ranked top 25 team.
If
you guys are holding on by a
Washington's
thread, though.
If Washington's
still
win,
I think you are still ranked, yeah.
if Washington's win at Oregon State was what convinced the committee to move them ahead of Florida State, then Oregon crushing Oregon State should be enough to keep them
there,
as the top ranked one-loss
Yeah,
team.
I agree with that. I think Ohio State's not going to fall too far.
Okay.
Please don't try to galaxy brain the situation. Ohio State's not making a playoff. That is done. This is not last year. There are too many good teams and too many deserving teams who are going to win or be right there with one loss or less. They're going to make it. Ohio State is out. They're done. They're cooked.
5 through 8 in this was Oregon 49%, Washington 26%, Texas 11%, Alabama 8%. So that was their top 8 and the percentage according to the, I love how it's sponsored, the All-State playoff prediction.
I think Georgia, my take is Georgia's going to roll Bama.
You think they roll them on Saturday?
I don't think this is as great a Georgia team, but I think that's one of the worst Bama teams he's had. They should have lost that game, and Auburn just lost to New Mexico.
Yeah, the unique part about that is they had been playing really good football leading, like they had been blowing people out leading up to that. That's where I don't know who Alabama is. Were they the team that had finally found their gear and was kicking the teeth
I think you
in?
do know. I think if you were being honest with yourself, you've watched them play all year.
I mean, they're not Alabama of the last couple of
doesn't
years.
scare you.
No, he doesn't scare me, but it's still Alabama. It's still Nick Saban.
No, I got respect for Nick Saban for sure. I think Georgia's in a different level than them right now.
Well, there you go. Ohio State was number 4. That grinded my gears, and we'll see where everybody shows up tonight. The rankings come out 4:00, the second to last rankings, and then Sunday we find out.
These are the least valuable rankings you get of the year.
They are, because it doesn't count. These are the last ones, and you rip them up, then we find out on Sunday. We got a lot to get to in the final hour. The mail sack is coming up at 8:15. Your questions are welcome at the Vancouver Ford text line, 503-864-6326. YouTube chat as well. You can go throw them there. YouTube.com/1080thefan. We are live every single morning. I'm going to get to some Jonathan Smith audio. We haven't really talked about that Iron Bowl. We got some great audio with that. We got a loaded final hour. Don't go anywhere. Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
Leafs has been poorly
From the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
Brought to you by X Golf. It's indoor golf season. Check out X Golf in Vancouver or Tualatin, the home of indoor golf, online at xgolfpmw.com. First on The Fan, with Jonathan Smith set to be formally introduced as the new head coach in East Lansing later this morning. Rumors continuing to grow in Corvallis. Current Beavers defensive coordinator Trent Bray could be named his successor at Oregon State, maybe before the day is over. While the Oregon Ducks are 9.5-point favorites in Vegas over the Washington Huskies for Friday's Pac-12 championship game, the more important numbers in front of their names will be announced tonight. The College Football Playoff Committee releasing its latest rankings this afternoon, 4 o'clock on ESPN. It was first time in 29 times this season an NFL team won a game without scoring a touchdown. Bears got 4 field goals from Cairo Santos. The defense picked off Joshua Dobbs of the Vikings 4 times for a 12-10 victory. Blazers bouncing back from their loss in Milwaukee with a win over the Pacers Monday night in Indianapolis, 114-110. Jeremy Grant leading the way with 34 points. They'll continue the road trip Thursday in Cleveland. College hoops tonight over on 910 ESPN Portland. The Pilots go across the river to face their rival Portland State. 7 o'clock tip, pregame coverage at 6:30. Vikings, 2.5-point favorites. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. Jason Swigart from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk. Spirit Mountain Casino brings you big games on big screens with big-time sports betting action. Learn more at spiritmountain.com.
Go deeper on the Trailblazers. The Rose Garden Report with host Sean Hyken. Download the Rose Garden Report on the free Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts. Oregon.
I think this game's 100% on me. I don't think you guys got to look anywhere else besides me.
Washington.
Take it in and understand the place and history of the program and understand what 12-0 really took to get to this point.
This is a Pac-12 Championship Week edition of Dirt and Sprague.
Brought to you by Mods PDX. The future of building is here. Online at modspdx.com.
Dirt and Sprague on 1080.
We face moments of adversity. Our guys never flinched.
The Fan.
Hey, let's do this. Final hour, Dirt and Sprague on Portland Sports Leader, 1080 The Fan, 99.5 HD2, the Odyssey app, live on YouTube. Shout out to all of you, no matter how you're watching or listening. We love you all. We got a lot to get to in the final hour of the show. Mail sack coming up in 10 minutes. Get your questions into the Vancouver Ford text line. We got a prize bribe for you at some point in the final hour, but you got to listen in order to win.
Are you in Christmas movie mode yet?
Yeah, we're getting there. We're getting there.
I have a dirty, dirty, dirty secret.
What do you got?
I'm kind of knee deep in Hallmark holiday movies right now.
You getting into the Hallmarks this year? And now, is it a wife thing that they're just on while you're walking by the room and she's watching them, or you're legitimately watching Hallmark movies by yourself?
I was the one raised by a single mother,
Okay.
so it's definitely a me thing. The wife,
They're all a happy ending.
They are. There's also, like, I've created dark backstories to some of the movies because they're so happy. Like, there's a guy who's kind of grief eating. There's a girl whose husband or boyfriend died, and she's trying to renovate the house to sell it because she can't bear going in that house another day.
Can't do it, no.
And the guy, of course, is very good looking. He's a carpenter, and he's making her laugh. He's randomly showing up to her. He's kind of stalking her and just feeding off of the grief. And then he also accidentally texts her, and he has her ex-boy or her husband or boyfriend's number who died. He got that phone number, and he's texting her advice of how to get over the loss and grief. And he doesn't realize it until the end, and then he doesn't tell her.
Yikes.
It's kind of creepy.
That one's a little weird,
but I was all in.
You're all in.
Watch the whole thing.
Those are the ones, the wife loves those, and I'll walk by the room and just chuckle, like, Hallmark. And then you're like in the kitchen making dinner, and you end up like you've been watching the TV for 10 minutes. Like, is he going to kiss her here? Like, you end up getting roped into him as you're just sitting in the room. We got a lot to get to in the final hour. Let's start with a game we didn't talk about yesterday because the audio was too good to pass up. Alabama won the Iron Bowl 27-24.
They shouldn't have won the Iron Bowl.
We
shouldn't be talking about Alabama in this playoff thing.
No.
This is ridiculous. This is some of the worst coached defense I've ever seen in my entire life. And that's not hyperbole. That is, go back and watch the tape.
Yes.
What the hell are they doing?
They also, in the final moments of that game, Auburn led 24-20. They got Alabama to go 3 and out, and then they punted with about 4 minutes to go, I want to say, in the game, and the Auburn punt returner just slipped as he was trying to catch the punt and fumbled the punt.
Yes.
Alabama recovers it. That's what ultimately set up their final touchdown. If you didn't watch the game, they had it inside the 10-yard line, and on 2nd and goal, they hiked the ball when Milroe was not looking and lost 30 yards. He had to run back and fall on it.
That's when I thought the game was
game's
done.
over.
I'm like, okay,
No
errant
chance.
snap. Here we go.
No chance. Then on 3rd and goal, he threw a pass like 6 yards in front of the line of scrimmage. Like one of the dumbest things I've ever seen.
I wouldn't say 6, but it was definitely at least
Dude,
2 or 3. Yes.
Everybody's watching on TV like, what are you doing, dude?
It's helped so much that we have that blue line.
Spatial awareness, buddy.
And then Saban was caught after he threw that. What the F are you doing?
It was a horrible throw, too. Like, no chance of getting completed. They declined the penalty because I think it's, lost it down, whatever. So it's 4th and goal from the 31-yard line. 4th and goal from the 31-yard line. They're down 24-20. Do we want to start with the winning side or the losing side?
Let's play the winning side
All right.
and then play the losing side.
Here's how it sounded in Tuscaloosa.
That's all it is. But there's a lot of airspace to cover for Milroe. Still looking. Firing. Near corner. It's caught! Touchdown, Alabama! Isaiah Bond! On a 4th and a mile!
That's CBS.
That was the CBS one. My apologies.
I was going to say it sounds awful.
That was Brad Nessler.
Yeah, Brad Nessler.
One of the things I am excited about Oregon going to the Big Ten is having Brad Nessler call Oregon games again.
Yeah, the CBS losing the SEC, though, like...
It's going to be weird.
I got to be honest. That, their music, I have that so far ingrained in my brain of SEC football that it's the NBA on NBC theme. Like, watching it on Fox College basketball does not do anything for me.
First time you get a Northwestern Iowa game on CBS, and that's the lead-in song.
That's going to piss me off.
Just put Gary Danielson out to pasture. Here is how it sounded in Tuscaloosa.
Milroe stands in, lets everybody get downfield. Still standing. He throws into the end zone.
He caught it.
It's caught! It's caught by Isaiah Bond! Caught by Isaiah Bond in the corner of the end zone. Touchdown, Alabama!
Eli Golden, really good.
Really good.
Do you think Mike Parker hears these calls and goes, I could have done better? I wonder if those guys hear that. If they hear a call and they're like,
competition.
I could have done that better.
I mean, I know I do that. I'll see clips from our company will put out on social media all the time of other sports radio shows. I'm like, yeah, we could be better than that.
We had a whole racist dirt segment. Where was that, Odyssey Sports?
You got racist dirt and half Asian Sprague here. Come on, man.
Half Asian.
I can't. If I were racist, I wouldn't be doing a show with a quarter Asian, right? Come on. I'd kick you out of the studio.
Well, it doesn't mean you're happy doing the show.
That is true. I could be very angry inside. Here's how it sounded on the losing side. I've not heard this yet, and I'm very excited for it.
Trips to the Auburn boundary, the wide side of the field. Double wide receivers right for Alabama. Burton
Slow pain.
and Williams.
Slow build.
Empty backfield for Jalen Milroe on 4th and goal from the 31. Milroe to throw out of the shotgun with time. Still with time. He looks. He throws to the back of the end zone. It is caught for a touchdown. Isaiah Bond with the catch.
He didn't go full Mike Parker there. He kept the call up.
They're 6-5 going into the game. What would you be devastated about?
I mean, they gave up a 31-yard completion on 4th and goal when they should have beaten Alabama and eliminated them from the college football playoff.
In your rivalry game, touche. There's a lot to be devastated
After getting
about.
blown out at home by New Mexico State the week before.
So they've showed this on television, but like it's astounding to me. They have a guy playing spy on the quarterback.
Yes.
But he's 12 yards away from the line of scrimmage, and he never rushes. He just kind of stands and waits for Milroe to run. They only rushed 2. So by my math, that would put 8 guys basically in the end zone, and somehow Alabama still got a guy in one-on-one coverage to catch the ball. What are you doing? Rush 4. It's 30 yards. Make him have to run it.
Yeah.
You got 7 guys back there.
Blitz the hell out of them.
I didn't understand it all. You don't have to blitz. You don't have to rush 4. Like, rush 3?
I'm blitzing. I don't care. I'll line up a couple of guys around the end zone to tackle. I'm rushing 6 or 7. You cannot allow a quarterback to run around. If you get to him that quickly,
he just stood there.
They have to run 30 yards to get to the end zone. That's going to take you 3 seconds at least to get there. If I'm blitzing and I got a free rusher coming, he's got to get rid of the football. Jaden Milroe's not a good passer. He just his athleticism is what makes him special. Make him get rid of the ball quickly, and they do not score a touchdown.
Just an awful. I don't know where Auburn fan is on Hugh Freeze, but I can't imagine they're ecstatic today with Hugh Freeze as the coach, given how that ended.
Dude, that was one of the worst endings of a game. To start with dropping the punt, by the way, when they ran the football for against Alabama for like 240 yards.
That's what I'm saying on the Georgia game is you're right to say, well, it's Nick Saban, 100%. I don't feel like this is a very strong Alabama team. I didn't feel it going into the year. We'll wait and see what they do against Georgia, but like I'm still in my brain. I don't know how they won that game. They shouldn't have won that game.
The funny thing about Auburn, you're not wrong. If you're looking at it year one, like you're not punting on Hugh Freeze. It's first year, and you don't do that 1 year in. They are legitimately like 3 plays away from having wins on their resume over Georgia and Alabama.
That's a very good point.
They pushed Georgia to the absolute brink, and it took Brock Bowers making like one finger catches to win that game. That was all the way back in late September, early October.
That was before he got hurt, right?
That was before. I think that might have been the game he got hurt, or maybe it was the week after.
I think you're right. He was limping.
Georgia won 27-20 at Jordan Hare, and they, without a 4th down and 31 play, beat Alabama. That's how close they were to beating the two teams who might be the 2 best in college football. I don't know. It's Georgia and Alabama, but an all-timer in the Iron Bowl.
Let's see if Auburn's on the unlucky list.
They have to. I mean, you lose 31-10 at home to New Mexico State. I don't know if that's unlucky, but to nearly pull off those 2 upsets is wild.
I don't see them in the top 25 unluckiest list here, according to the expanded analytics.
Well, there you go. Bad defense will doom you, and it did for Auburn this weekend. Hugh Freeze maybe should have used a couple of those cell phones to call a defense coordinator, and maybe he would have got a better game plan on that final play. Let's get to the mail sack. Your questions are welcome in the Vancouver Ford text line, which is 503-864-6326. YouTube chat, throw them in there, and we'll get to as many as we can coming up next on The Fan.
This game been your ear for a minute.
This is Pac-12 Championship Week with Dirt and Sprague.
Brought to you by Mods PDX. The future of building is here.
On 1080 The Fan.
All right, welcome back in. We'll get to Jonathan Smith coming up bottom of the hour. He did an interview on the Big Ten Network.
Dave Revson.
Yeah.
Dave Revson.
Revson.
I kind of do like a lisp, Revson.
Red leather, yellow leather. Best Bud video saying Dirt's putting on the pregnancy weight. Thank you. Appreciate that. You guys are always nice and kind. I'm balding and fat, so things are going great on a Tuesday. Hope your days are going great. Good morning to everybody out there. Let's get to the mail sack.
I had somebody I know that once in a while listens, and they had noticed what the topic had become, and they said, "Why do you guys subject yourself to that?" And I go, "I don't know. We like to talk about sports, and it lends itself to people just making fun of us as humans."
Hey, my pain can make other people laugh. I guess that's a good thing. Somebody's happy out of this equation.
You're also wearing
clearly is not me.
To defend you, because I call you a fake fat.
Yeah.
You are wearing a really thick hockey sweater. You know, that it makes it look like it's a little more filled out than it is.
It's wintertime, eh?
If you took that off, people would be
warm.
shocked how slim you are.
Yeah, that's right. You damn right you would. See these guns.
You got booger on your nose.
Do I really? Did I get it? Is it all gone? Help me out over here, man. I'm fat, bald, and I got boogers. I need to catch a break, all right?
You got it.
My poor wife. Okay, mail sack, here we go. It's 1 a.m. The kids and the wife are asleep. You're buzzed, and you've never been so happy to open the fridge to see what?
Last time I was up at 1 a.m., I was a young Sparky. Let me think about that for a second.
He said, by the way, my favorite drunk fruit is something greasy and spicy like pad thai.
Oh, that's a good one.
That's pretty good. I would say leftovers of some sort.
Leftover Chinese.
It's 1 a.m. You're not cooking anything. Like, you can pop it in the microwave if you need to. Something you can eat cold. Some sort of like pad thai is really tough to beat. That's a really good one.
Oh man, I'd have to go ahead, Swag. If you got one, I'm trying to think what number one would be.
What did Swag always get in college on his way home from the bars? Was there a place you stopped or a food you got?
Well, they drank at his house.
Oh,
he didn't go anywhere.
You didn't go out to bars? No.
He was a fraternity guy. They had parties.
Yeah, they don't go to bars. And
Well,
fraternities?
I didn't turn 21 till right before my senior semester.
Yeah.
So what did you come on? You had wild orgies at band camp in high school. You were drinking before then.
I was, but I didn't go to bars.
Okay.
I never had a fake ID.
Well, I didn't either.
So I didn't go to bars.
It's pretty easy to get alcohol in Corvallis.
Yeah.
When you're under 21.
Yeah,
that wasn't a big challenge
So
for
yeah,
us.
I mean, we had fraternities, so obviously there were 21-year-olds all over the place. So they just went on runs. You just hear
all over the blaze, huh?
No, what are you doing over there? man?
Okay, so I'm gonna assume. So he says I'm buzzed.
You're buzzed. You can be high. You can be drunk. It's 1 o'clock in the morning. Everybody's asleep. You open the fridge.
I'm not opening the fridge at that point. I'm going for like the Doritos or the Ruffles or something.
Oh, okay.
I
You're a
want
pantry man.
Yeah.
I think leftover Chinese is pretty close to leftover pizza for me. I don't want to waste much time.
No.
Not trying to put a whole lot of things together. It's a quick, like, 30 seconds, and then even then, like, you take a bite of the Chinese lo mein, and it's a little cold, but you're like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, I don't care.
We've all been there
I think
before.
Chinese or pizza is definitely right in my wheelhouse.
Okay, I like that. Melsack question, is cheesecake a pie or a cake?
It's a cake.
I hate this question.
This question led to a heated 10-minute debate yesterday.
It's a cake.
It's a cake?
What do you mean a 10-minute debate?
That's what the text read.
Oh, gotcha.
They got in a heated debate.
Yeah, it's a cake.
Okay. I don't know. I'll take your word for it.
It's a cake.
What makes it a cake?
Cheesecake. It's in
Pie
the name.
has.
What if you were Andy White Johnson and you're like, I'm not white? What makes him white? Well, his pigment in his name. Two obvious dead giveaways there.
Yeah. That would be the sweatshirt. Melsack, what's the worst team to be a fan of in the 4 major sports? What's the worst college to be a fan of? Worse in terms of suffering fandom?
Phoenix Coyotes.
That's a good underrated
There's not a
one.
single fan that exists.
And the ones that do, it's like a miserable existence because nobody cares about your team in that market. And the NHL should save themselves, but for some reason they won't do it.
You're saying, what was the college one?
And then what's the worst college to be a fan of? Worst suffering fan.
I mean,
I wasn't going to say it.
I don't know
Are we
if you
strictly
can pick a
looking at
worst.
football, or are you looking across the entire
Sports people care about.
Men's basketball is not doing well, and their football coach left, and they don't have I mean, you could make an argument.
Yeah.
My alma mater had maybe the worst 48 hours in college history. In the modern college era.
Yeah.
Them and SMU's death sentence, like, those are pretty devastating, massive, big blows, right?
Yeah, I would. Can I throw a side one at you? I mean, the Penn State thing would be really tough.
I could, yeah.
Like if you grew up in Pennsylvania and you were a diehard Penn State fan, like fandoms will excuse a lot of behaviors. That's a tough one to get over. And just like 2 years later, be like, yeah, go Lions. Yeah,
that's why I root against them in all their big games. Actually,
this is uncomfortable.
Yeah, no, that's a pretty good one. I don't know if I can pick a better one than.
Now
Penn
they're not
State.
more suffering than you. Oregon State's, we don't know the conference and
Well,
all
they
that.
can't beat Penn or Ohio. They can't beat Michigan and Ohio State. I'd argue they are suffering.
Yeah, they keep bumping into that glass
Yeah,
ceiling.
is
They
it
can't
worse
break
to
it down.
just be completely irrelevant or to
Stanford.
think you're good,
but you're not as
but you're
good as
not.
you want to be? Yeah.
Interesting.
Like, is A&M a suffering fan base?
Yes. The amount of money they're spending and the amount of facilities that they've built, they should be way better than they are.
Did you see their weird culty thing they did yesterday, swaying in that press conference with Elko? I'm like, yeah. Well, I was going to say something that would have got me in a lot of trouble.
Vanderbilt,
I didn't say
except
that.
say it. Don't
I
say it.
see. I would say Vanderbilt, except they really do rally around their baseball program.
Yeah, they got a powerhouse baseball,
Yeah.
and I actually think they're proud of their academics, unlike some institutions. Like, they don't care about football. You could fold it up, and I don't think you get a lot of pushback.
Is Jerry Stackhouse still there?
I believe so.
For hoops?
For hoops, yeah.
Still the hoops coach?
I thought he was terrible. I don't know.
I have no clue.
I thought he got fired.
Mail sack question. If you see someone you know entering a pooping stall,
Did you answer that question, by the way? What your pick was?
Penn State would be my question.
Penn
For
State?
pro sports, I'm with the Coyotes is pretty good.
I don't think there's not a more irrelevant team. Nobody talks about the Phoenix Coyotes, Arizona Coyotes.
I mean, people don't talk about a lot of NHL teams. To
Well,
be
I
fair.
know, but at least like
Mariners would be pretty tough.
Mariners are
in the
up there.
conversation.
No, they've got J-Rod now. They're in the conversation. They might get Otani.
And they still
They just made a cash-saving trade the other day.
We're talking about relevance,
They've
right?
won one playoff series.
Well, that was my
two
question.
playoff
Are you
series
talking
in
about
Swag's
relevance,
lifetime.
or are you talking
They
about
didn't go to the playoffs for 30 years.
thinking you're
They're the
something
only
and
team that's never been to the
being
World Series.
constantly being disappointed?
Their front office won't spend money. Like, that's a miserable
Like, you
fandom.
could go Buffalo Bills fans. Like, Bills fans, this is a second run. You had a run. You went to 4 straight Super Bowls and couldn't close the damn deal.
Yeah, they were right
You're
there.
basically the equivalent of that in overtime. You're 0-6.
Yes.
I'd rather have hope than no hope.
Me too.
I'd rather be a Bills fan than a Mariners fan. Like, the
Yeah,
Bills got
yeah.
there. I know that sucks. I've seen my team lose championships. It's the worst, but
Wizards fans?
Wizards, I would throw the Wizards in there for sure.
Oh, God.
Have the Wizards ever been relevant in your lifetime?
Yes.
When?
They went to back-to-back titles in
70s,
78,
yeah.
79 with the Sonics,
Yeah.
and they each won one.
Okay.
Yep.
The Bullets.
The Bullets.
The Wes Unseld days.
Magadirt loves the Bullets.
Chocolate City.
Just leaning into that. But
Mitch-
since then, they have not been relevant since
Yeah.
1980.
Mitch Kupchak, Kevin Greavy.
Make a list of what
Greg
Magadirt
Ballard.
likes.
Yeah, the things I like and don't like. Mailsack question. If you see someone you know entering a pooping stall, you don't start a conversation, right? This is more of a PSA than a question. Yes. Don't say anything.
This is a little gross, but it's an honest admission here. I don't do anything when someone comes in and I'm in the middle of my business. I hold everything. Right? And then the door shuts. And you're just kind of like, oh, thank God. Get back to my regularly scheduled program.
I'm a socially awkward person. I think the most awkward conversation you can have with a coworker is walking in or out of the bathroom. Because you know, like, it's like a, hey, how's it going? Like, you just bump into each other. I don't know what you're doing. You don't know what I'm doing in there. You probably have an idea of what I'm doing in there.
You're making it sound more suspicious of what you do in your working bathroom.
Have you seen the news report from a couple of years ago of the guy?
There's only 2 things you do in there.
Well, you never
What
know.
else would you be doing?
You never know. There was a guy who had the cops called on him at a Home Depot because he was walking into a bathroom and said he was going to drop a bomb.
Oh, I remember this.
And there was they called in a bomb threat,
Right,
and he was
right.
like, "No, I was dropping a bomb."
Well, I mean, I kind of want to be the guy that's like, I saw a coworker of ours step out of the stall. I went to the urinal, and he stepped out as I was walking in. I wanted to be like, hey, nice dump. But I didn't, because,
Was it clean? How many wipes? Ghost wipe? Huh? How much TP did you use? How in depth do you want to get?
Ugh.
Don't ask me that question when I'm on my way.
You've
out.
already crossed the line by making me wonder what you do in there if you're not going 1 or 2.
Millsack question. Nebraska now has the longest bowl drought of any Power 5 team in the country. That's wild. to
Talk
read
about
out loud.
depression.
Imagine hearing that 25 years ago. Would you trade their dominance for 3 decades for the misery that they're experiencing now?
Boy, that's a good question.
So now you had to have been alive. Like, you can't be a young fan that didn't witness it. That doesn't count.
Right.
You had to be like Swag's age, for example.
Exactly.
You saw the Nebraska dominance.
I finally
in the
gave
80s
up
and the
on the
90s.
Cowboys. A similar thing.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't, and I'll tell you why. No, they got multiple championships. They've got one of the best runs we've seen in college football history. We have some Nebraska people who listen, so I don't want them to just don't take this personally. Your identity is not 18-year-olds playing football, okay?
I'm getting really angry right now.
I can't fathom how depressing this has been every single year with a new coach. It's like, oh, it's Pelini. No, not good enough. And then
Mike
after that,
Riley.
it's like, oh, Mike Riley, who was the last coach, by the way, to take Nebraska.
The
to a bowl
problem
game.
is leadership can't keep chasing the past. That's the problem.
But they didn't, and then this year, like they've had
they're
2
chasing the
weeks to be bowl
past.
eligible. How are they chasing the past with Matt Rule?
Well, they did it with Scott Frost.
Yeah, and then
they
it,
tried it with Frost.
Is Trev Albert still the AD?
I believe he is.
Yeah.
I mean, if Rule doesn't win next year, that guy has to be on the seat, right? The AD. How many hires can you make?
I don't know.
I
They're
don't
a
think-
volleyball school now, so what do you want?
Yeah, they do have a good volleyball team. I wouldn't trade it. I wouldn't. Like this, dude. It's been a long time since Nebraska's been relevant.
A long time.
Long time.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to go to early 2000s.
Fiesta Bowl.
And it was the borderline, like, this thing's kind of fading a little bit.
The year Oregon went to play Colorado and
Yeah.
Nebraska went to play Miami.
Yeah.
Like, no matter who to play Miami, I think you lose. But, like, Oregon, I thought was more deserving in the moment. And as I'm an adult, I think that now. What have they done post that season?
You had a couple of years of Pelini where they were a 9-win. They were a respectable program.
Yeah.
And Ndamukong Suh was there, and
Sure.
they should have won a Big
Big
12
Ten-
title
Big 12 title
against
game, that's
Texas with the out of bounds and 1 second left. Like, they had a couple of years there. But they have not been a player on the national level in basically 25 years.
It's just not fun to have to point to, like, 19-something as, like, your brag point.
Like,
you know?
at what point does the statute of limitations on bragging run out? Like, I always bring this up with Yankee fans who brag about having 27
it's them and Notre
championships.
Dame. Stop it.
It's like, dude, you won World Series in the 1930s when there were 4 teams and no black players could play. Like, what are we talking about here? Stop. That doesn't. If you want to give me the run you had at the end of the 90s, that's fine. You won a title in 2009, that's fine. 27, like pound sand, dude. Nobody counts anything before 1950, nor should we. Like, these dudes are running 5-second 40s, okay? They're plumbers and janitors. Like, stop bragging about that. Statute of limitations has run out.
Your guy Gillis has a funny bit on Jackie Robinson making
Dude,
white
it is
people talk
so
differently.
good. So good.
Jackie Robinson's up here saying.
Fastest man alive. He runs a 7-second 40. They call him Oil Can Henry. He's 47 years old. It's a great bit.
It is a good bit.
There you go. Oh, by the way, last one. Quick. Actually, no, we don't have enough time.
Go ahead. Just fire it away.
All right. Can you 3 think of a year or a team that you liked in the Pac-10 or Pac-12 that you liked besides Oregon State or Oregon? Maybe a team that should have won the conference that didn't. Each school has had their the years has had their moments. So a non-Oregon or Oregon State Pac-12 team that you rooted for. That's a tough question to answer.
I rooted for SC against Texas because I wanted to see the Pac-10.
Jake Plummer Arizona State team.
That was a fun one. I was a little young, but I remember watching him scamper into the end zone, and they won the Rose Bowl, right?
They went to the Rose Bowl.
Did they lose the Rose Bowl?
I can't remember.
I remember Jake the Snake getting there.
I think they lost the Rose Bowl.
I thought they did too.
I would probably give you the Minshew Cougs.
Oh, that's a good one.
That was a fun team.
Yeah.
I mean, they beat my team. And
But the mustache and the leech stuff.
They
Game
beat
day went there.
Beat USC in Pullman on that night game.
That's a great one.
That was a team and then they ended up losing the Apple Cup because they always lost the Apple Cup. But that was one, like, if they would have won, that would have been cool to see them win a conference title.
I'm trying to rack my brain. Do I have a team that I...
Probably one of the Leaf Washington State teams, like the clock wanting them to beat Michigan in the Rose Bowl.
Yeah. See, and I rooted for Michigan in that year. Young Dirt loved Charles Woodson.
Yeah, that was my guy. Sad admission for you would be 2000, the 2000 season, Oregon State went to the Fiesta Bowl. I was still, like, disconnected from fandom, Sprague. So, like, if Oregon was good, I rooted for Oregon. If Oregon State was good, I rooted for them. Washington was kind of the one school that I would kind of root for because my cousin went there. Tuiasosopo Rose Bowl year against Drew Brees and Purdue. That was probably one of the better ones for me. I was like passionately following Washington that year.
All right, great mail sack today, everybody. Well done. Let's get to Jonathan Smith. He did an interview with the Big Ten Network. What did he have to say about leaving Oregon State? Doesn't show a lot of emotion. We'll get to that coming up next. First, here's Swag with Sports Center.
This is Pac-12 Championship Week with Dirt and Sprague.
Brought to you by Mods PDX. The future of building is here.
Now, from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
Brought to you by Vulcan Design and Construction. Check out their award-winning outdoor living designs or schedule your free design consultation at vulcandc.com. First on The Fan, Jonathan Smith going to be introduced as the new Michigan State head football coach coming up within the hour in East Lansing. Meanwhile, in Corvallis, rumors continue to grow. Current Beavers defensive coordinator Trent Bray could be named as his successor at Oregon State, possibly before the day is over. Oregon and Washington ranked 3rd and 5th in the AP poll. We'll find out if they'll be ranked in those positions or possibly better when the new College Football Playoff Committee rankings are released at 4 o'clock this afternoon on ESPN. After blowing a 26-point lead Sunday in Milwaukee, the Blazers rebounded Monday night in Indianapolis, holding off the Pacers down the stretch. They get a 114-110 win. They've won 2 of their last 3. Jeremy Grant leading the way with 34 points. Road trip continues in Cleveland on Thursday. College hoops rivalry tonight over on 910 ESPN Portland. The Pilots go across the river to face their rival Portland State. 7 o'clock tip. Pre-game coverage starts at 6:30. Vikings 2.5-point favorites. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. Jason Swigard from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk. Spirit Mountain Casino brings you big games on big screens with big-time sports betting action. Learn more at spiritmountain.com.
This is your home for year-round NFL coverage. The Odyssey app. and Sprague.
Brought to you by Mods PDX. The future of building is here.
On 1080 The Fan.
All right, we don't have a lot of time here, so let's turn and burn, baby. How about this? Right now, if you text Boston, B-O-S-T-O-N, to 503-864-6326, you'll be entered for your chance to see or to win tickets to see the Dropkick Murphys at the Moda Center on February 17th, 2024. That's right, they're coming through. Moda Center, February 17th. We're going to have your chance to win tickets all week. More details, 1080thefan.com. Text Boston to 503-864-6326. Let's hear from your old guy. The old dark-haired Jonathan Smith.
I'm developing a theory on him with no actual sourcing reporting. It's just my only explanation mentally for what he's done the last 2 to 3 days.
Well, he was on the Big Ten Network yesterday, and he was asked about, hey, you were coaching at your alma mater. That's kind of a big deal. When were you okay moving on, and how tough was it to abandon your alma mater? Here is his answer.
Coaching at your alma mater, and that, of course, is a place that means a whole lot to you in Oregon State, going through a lot, conference realignment going on, and they don't really have a place right now. How tough was it to leave Oregon State behind?
Yeah, that place means a ton, no question. These things aren't always easy. I go back to the timing and the fit. I wasn't going to just abandon a place. I wanted to be going to a place. And so I go back to the conversations, learning more and more about Michigan State. This felt like the right timing, the right fit for me.
Hey, at least you haven't been abandoned. So you got that going for you.
When Revson drops the going through a lot about Oregon State, I took note of his facial reaction.
Very uncomfortable.
Look at that facial reaction.
Show that to
Look
the
at this
camera.
facial reaction. It's like he's looking down, like,
Yeah, my wife has cancer and I left her. Sorry.
That's the face I make when my wife's like, did you remember to take the trash out? Oh. How do I do this without her knowing?
Did you clean the garage? No, I didn't.
Look, he's not had great responses in a couple of his media snippets. There's no doubt he handled this. I will still argue in defense of him a little bit. Not that he needs it because Beaver fans pissed, but I don't think there's a perfect way to handle this. I'm not one that believes that if he stayed for next year and everything was okay and they had a good year, then it'd be okay for him to leave. I think this would have always been hard.
That's true.
Here's my theory. He's been terrible in his interviews. He's kind of avoided talking about Oregon State at length. He's made it seem like Michigan State is this dream scenario and Oregon State was not his dream scenario.
It's all about the fit, the culture, the community.
My only theory and explanation for it is I talked yesterday about how he's trying to roll around with the pigs, okay? And I put coaches like your coach in this, and I don't mean it as an insult. I think you gotta slop it up a little bit in that world to be successful. I think to get to that place mentally, because he's not wired that way, I think he had to stab his alma mater in the back a little bit to become the villain. I think this is his villain origin story, and I think to allow himself to move on and succeed in the Big Ten, I think he had to do something he didn't necessarily want to do.
Makes him uncomfortable.
You didn't watch Star Wars, the new ones?
No, I did not.
Adam Driver's character is the love child of one Han Solo and Princess Leia.
Oh, they had a love child?
Well, they got married, basically, yeah.
Oh. I didn't know that.
You didn't. Well, you don't know Star Wars, so that explains everything.
Han Solo and Leia got together, huh? Getting it on.
Well, once Luke found out he couldn't, have sex with his sister, he's moved on to Yoda and the Force, and Han Solo stepped in there.
Luke and Yoda got it on too.
There's there's rumors.
Yoda sex. I'd pay to see that.
Would you now? I think there's a scene in Star Wars where his child is faced with Han Solo.
Yeah.
And to do the thing, to go to the dark side, he's got to stick the lightsaber in old Dad. Spoiler alert. Dad falls off.
You just ruined the entire premise of the movie.
Well, one of them. He murdered his dad. Han Solo, he murdered Han Solo.
Hans is dead?
Oregon State is Han Solo in the scenario. Okay. Jonathan Smith is Adam Driver's character. Needless to say, the end of the movie ends with Adam Driver basically sacrificing his life for the good and coming back around to the good side. And I think much like Mike Riley with the Chargers,
he's going to come back.
Jonathan is going to come back at some point and save the day
All right.
if this whole thing falls flat on its
When
face.
he gets fired in 3.5 years, he's going to come putting his tail between his legs, walking back to Corvallis. Do you welcome him with open arms?
At that point, you might welcome any and everything. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen in the next 2 to 3 years.
Yeah, that's true.
That's my only explanation for why he's doing this. I think he has to disconnect himself as much as he can to become the guy that he wants to be. He wants to be big and bad.
He does.
It's
yeah.
the leather jacket, popped collar thing.
It's the Fonz.
Film me walking into a snowy stadium. Ready? Ready? Go.
King of the North!
King of the North! Like, no. Nobody saw this coming.
I like your theory.
Do you?
I like your working theory. Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm picking up what you're putting down over there.
Yesterday it was divorced dad energy, and today it's origin story for villain.
He's murder. So as the next step, he's got to murder Mike Riley to complete the picture. Is that what we have to do here?
No, I was saying that Oregon State's program was Han Solo. And the saber going through it and the body dropping.
Now I'm following. Okay.
Han Solo might come back alive here. Let's not give up. Oregon State is so far.
You never know.
They're doing a damn NIL collective.
Money's coming in.
I give them a lot of credit, man. That fan base has been loud, proud, strong. They're raising money. They have a goal to get to $1 million. They're at $800,000+. They're doing what they can.
Yeah.
But Jonathan Smith turned on him.
He did. He killed his dad. Let's wrap it up with, is this guy worth it? Next on The Fan.
with Dirt and Sprague
Brought to you by Mods PDX. The future of building is here.
on 1080 The Fan.
All right, I'm going to save my is he worth it conversation for tomorrow. An interesting thing to follow with a quarterback in the Northwest.
Are you going to let him flip it down and reverse it?
Yeah. Jonathan Smith has a weird start to his tenure at Michigan State, too, by the way. So Sam Levitt is a local product.
Pride of West Lynn.
Pride of West Lynn.
State champion, right?
4-star quarterback in the 2020, that have been 3 class?
West Lynn's in almost every title game at this point every year. I know they didn't do it this year, but seemingly every year West Lynn is there.
Well, Sam Levitt was a great local quarterback, and he, during his time playing high school football in the state of Oregon, was not recruited or offered by Jonathan Smith.
No, they went with Aiden Childs.
And he remembers that well.
They didn't choose wrong.
At least we don't think so yet.
They didn't choose wrong.
We don't think so yet.
I mean,
it'd be pretty funny if he ends up coming to Oregon State and Aiden Childs leaves and Sam Levitt ends up being a stud.
Sam Levitt could be a good player.
That'd be
I think the world of Aiden Childs. I am terrified to lose Aiden Childs.
Well, anyways, he was on the roster at Michigan State. He was a Michigan State commit. Mel Tucker gets fired, yada, yada, yada. Smith gets the job, and Sam Levitt said, peace, I'm out. You didn't recruit me. You didn't offer me coming out of high school.
Yeah.
I'm holding the grudge. I'm gone. I'm entering the transfer portal.
I saw Nemick put that out, and then I jumped on an Oregon State Spaces to listen to the power brokers that be. And that was the thing, is that he was holding on to the grudge of not being recruited.
Dude, I can appreciate that, man. Like, you're a 4-star kid in the state of Oregon and you don't get offered by one of the in-state schools. Like, I could see that being an axe to grind.
Look, I understand it. I do. Would you really keep an axe to grind? Maybe it's okay to say, is this offense really good for me?
I don't know what kind of player he is.
Well, I don't either.
Is he a pro-style guy? Is he a spread guy? I don't know. I don't watch a lot of high school football. I haven't broken down that tape yet.
I saw the portal news because they've got some guys jumping, and I saw his name, and I went, I know that name. How do I know it?
Yeah,
and like 3 hours later, Nemick sends out West Lynn. And I'm like, local product.
I'm pulling for Tyler Van Dyke to come to Oregon next year and win a national title because that would be the funniest thing possible that could happen.
Wouldn't you rather have Cam Ward than Tyler Van Dyke?
I mean, yeah, I definitely would. I don't think Van Dyke's that good. It just would be real. The comedic factor of it would be really funny, and I would appreciate that. People are upset at you for spoiling the Star Wars movies, so way to go. Spoiler, Sprague.
I think the one I spoiled came out in like 2014.
Yeah, not enough time. 10 years hasn't passed yet. You can't spoil. Come on now. The in-season tournament continues tonight, right?
I haven't looked at the schedule. I don't know who's got cup games. They're all different. They don't play cup games the same night.
I thought we're cup checking tonight. I thought it was a Tuesday cup check.
Yeah, it is actually. All cup games.
I'm a cup boy.
Bucks Heat.
Hey!
Bucks are a weird team, dude.
They are a very
There's
weird
some
team.
David Blatt going on with Adrian Griffin right now.
Well, that'll do it for us. Colin Wilson was our guest.
Hawks and Cats.
Hey! Now I got you going.
Bet the over in that one.
Cup Sprague. All right, we got to go.
Thunder T-Wolves, guys.
No.
Is Josh Giddey going to play?
I hope not. Colin Wilson was great. Go check the Service Patriots podcast, 1080thefan.com, at Dirt and Sprague and at 1080 The Fan. Thanks, everybody, for watching on YouTube. We love you all listening, no matter how you're listening. Thanks for being a part of our Tuesday. We'll talk to you tomorrow at 6 a.m. Colin is next, listening to 1080 The Fan.
I'm DJ Glasser with